선수는 정민기 선수가 프로토스가 걸렸다는 걸 모릅니다. 오버도 수정 중에 있는데 벌써부터 지금 약간 좀 조우재 선수한테는 시련이 찾아왔어요.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SCSL. We're here for Season 4, Round of 32, Group G. Sharp, Bishop, Zelot, and Noob. Our only random player here is going to be playing today. It's very exciting. Bishop, a Terran player generally, has decided to choose random, I'm told. He's quite a strong random, so I'm really looking forward to see how he plays today. He's going to be facing off against Sharp first. We're going to have Zelot and Noob, and then we're going to see in those best of threes who's going to go to the final match and who's going to be passing through first, the losers match and all that good stuff. We're jumping right in, guys. How are you feeling today, Xun?
I'm feeling all right, Sam. Kind of excited to jump into this. Seems like Bishop's following Flash's footsteps a little bit with the switch to random. Maybe the Terran players putting in more games seem to understand the game state pretty good in all matchups because of the extra time that they put into their practice. And maybe it's a bit of a natural progression for them to dip and dabble with some of these other races and eventually be like, hey, we know what? Why not just play random? There's a big advantage to be gained from that and force my opponent into very cookie cutter builds that I can easily exploit.
Might be something to do with the confidence that comes from playing Terran. Like, I know everything, you know? I could play all these other races. It'll be easier. It'll be easier if I could play some Zerg and Terran or Protoss every once in a while, rather than just playing Terran. Who knows? But it seems to be those Terran players who dabble in the random the most, at least for now.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of arrogance, pays off in this competitive environment. So, hopefully we can see some good things from him today. Noob's actually a very good level player as well. He's way better in his mirror matchup than he is in his versus Terran and Zerg. But honestly, he's close to 50% against those two, and any 50% record is crazy good at the pro level. So I'm hoping Noob can hang with these guys here today as well.
Well, we need some more strong Protoss players. Somebody else to come up through the ranks and you kind of start to dominate. That would be awesome if we could get another ASL champion. Is it going to be Noob? I don't think so, but
Yeah.
maybe he's got some... maybe he could do something in the future, you know? Maybe there's a little bit of potential there. Anyways, guys, we're going to jump into our first game, Sharp versus Bishop. Let's get it started.
프로토스 정민기 선수입니다. 그리고 이에 맞서는 5시
All right, here we go.
조구덕 선수입니다.
Bishop. What did he get? Protoss? All right. Protoss in the top right. Sharp down here in the bottom right. Our first random of the night. And first random I've cast for a long time, guys. Talk about random for a bit here, Xun. What do you think about random play? What makes it good? What makes it strong?
Okay, well, one of the strong things here is it does force the other player to play very cookie cutter. Like, the only build that Sharp can do that's good against all three races is bunker expand, just to put that out there. Which means, like, you know, Bishop could go for Nexus first tier, and if he does assume a bunker expand out of Sharp, then obviously that's a natural advantage in that current situation. We see a lot of that kind of play in random where you're obfuscating what you're doing because they have to scout you to even know what race you are, and because they have to kind of hedge their bets against the range of possibilities. Like, he can't just commit into a normal fast gas, you know, what if it's a 9-pull or something? So you kind of are forced to play middle of the road if you want to play as safe as possible. In this case, though, it seems like Bishop wants to put the pressure on really early on and get this sort of, you know, gateway in the natural expansion, shortening the rush distances. This is Radiant, so it's, you know, the longest rush distance in the game. Cross map, it is vertical spawn, so it's not the worst case scenario for him, but putting that gateway in the natural expansion will shave off precious seconds in getting down here.
I wonder what kind of shape Bishop's PvP is in. You have to prepare so many different matchups when you want to go for a random run. It's kind of boggles the mind, really, the amount of different information that you need to download before going into a tournament like this. But Bishop may have prepared just a couple of different builds for each matchup and is ready to execute here. He thinks that going for a gateway first is strong. Let's see if he's right and Sharp takes some damage in this initial phase of the game. There's the reveal. Protoss is his opponent, and he's going to come down here, start this Nexus. Definitely going to be a bunker expand, like you were saying.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's the only thing that's actually good against all three races, and Terran is the only race that has that the option to do something like that. With the other two races, Zerg and Protoss, you don't have this option to do a build that's good against everything. So it's kind of lucky for Sharp that he has this option to begin with. The other races kind of have to pick, you know, a build that's good against two different races and not so good against the third, and just hope they win that 66% chance. In this case, he'll have a decent fighting chance against the Zelot pressure. Just needs to pull a couple of SCVs to block.
Gonna go after that SCV on the command center. As a Terran player, he knows how to hit him where it hurts. Getting in here now and running by with this first Zealot. Pylon out in the third base. We're gonna see some continuation of this pressure. Losing a Marine is really punishing right now. Sharp having a hard time dealing with this initial pressure, and he will finish the bunker. Bishop will be pushed back, but now two Zealots are coming up to the front. Will he try to run by here, and can Sharp block that? Doesn't look like he is very interested in that, but there's only two Marines for the time being. Oh, gateway out in front. This is going to be massive goon pressure, isn't it?
Yeah. He's going to make a second gateway over here. It's going to be 3-gate goon pressure. It could have been Proxy Robo as well. That is a viable play, but if that gets scouted, it's harder to shut down, whereas the gateways are a lot safer even if it gets scouted out here. So Bishop trying to do as safe of pressure as possible and make it so that there's not really any counterplay from Sharp. He just has to defend well. Range is going to finish up in a few beats, and he'll also start forcing out a bit of a taxation on that bunker in the way of repair bills. This is going to be a great opportunity here to just pounce on top of the first tank as it pops out with an overwhelming count of goons and force Sharp into a situation where if he doesn't perfectly block with his SCVs and repair and shuffle his units around, he's going to be knocked out very quickly here.
Yeah, once you can get rid of that first tank, and even if you're not able to kill it immediately, if at least force it back far enough so it has to be repaired, you can run up right on top of the bunker, kind of surround it with the Protoss units, force the repair, but if there's no surface area, then they can burn through that bunker. 2 Zealots does a lot of damage to the bunker. They put out so much DPS, and so Bishop here lining up this attack. Sharp adding more Marines behind this. Maybe he's starting to sniff something out? This is curious, continuing to build Marines here. But he is building turrets. He doesn't know.
Yeah, he's just, you know, kind of hedging his bets a little bit. He's got some more anti-air with this. He might be worried about a proxy robo coming in and wants to have some ability to shoot that shuttle down, put a coffin in. Here comes the dive in onto the bunker. The repair is not quick enough. He will pop this bunker, and suddenly, Sharp in a world apart, he's going to have to evacuate his natural expansion at the bare minimum here. He's in a lot of trouble trying to hold the ramp with some SCVs. The tank is about to pop, but it's 5 Dragoons versus 1 tank, with the Zelot still in tow, putting on a lot of pressure to this ramp, trying to chomp through these SCVs just before the tank arrives. Finally, the tank is out. There's another Zelot streaming in to help tank the damage against these SCVs and make surrounds with the SCVs nowhere near as potent in shutting down this Dragoon pressure. He has got the high ground advantage, so with that 50% miss chance, might be able to make the hold work, but he's losing so many of these SCVs regardless. Already, Bishop's done more than enough damage to stabilize his only economy game state, regardless of whether or not he kills Sharp right now. Now it's just icing on the cake for him. He might even get these Dragoons inside the main siege mode is finished. There's no Marines inside this bunker that's been completed on the ramp though. Second tank popping out, so he probably might be able to hold on to this, but he does lose one of those tanks.
It's a shame that he didn't target with the siege tank on that 1 Dragoon. He could have kept both of these tanks alive, but I'm not sure it's really going to matter here. Sharp has lost so many SCVs. He's running out of SCVs for the ramp, Xun. He can't really pull anymore right now, or his economy is just doomed, and he's going to lose that tank on the high ground, not sieging it up far enough back. There is still a bunker up there on the high ground, but it's a little bit too far away. The Dragoons can easily run by that. Now 4 Dragoons here in the main with endless flow of Gateway Army making its way into the natural. This is over.
This is definitely over. I mean, this is just, you know, insult to injury right now. I'm sure Bishop feels a bit of catharsis. He's like, yeah, this is what I have to deal with fighting against Protoss all the time. But the main issue with this is that you're kind of forced to go for a middle-of-the-road build like Bunker Expand, which means your tanks are going to be naturally super late in this game, and your ability to hold something like that so challenging. Kind of to be expected there. With a cheese like that with the 2 proxy gateways. It could have been proxy robo as well, and I think that Sharp was actually expecting proxy robo with the turrets placed the way they were with the extra Marines made. I think he was concerned about a shuttle flying into his base really early on, but it wasn't. It was the other end of the stick, and instead it's just going to be a gateway bust to take him down. Really well executed play there from Bishop. As a Terran player, obviously understanding the weaknesses of Terran versus Protoss and being able to abuse that information warfare at the early game when they don't even know what race you are, sometimes you can pick up some easy wins as random.
It makes sense for sure. I didn't think he was going to be able to pull that off as quickly as he did, just getting in there even before the tank could pop out surrounding the bunker. Surely was the plan there, but so early on, Sharp was not expecting it, and I was not expecting to see Sharp going down in this first game, you know, going into the losers match. That's rough.
I just want to point out something. There is one thing Sharp could have done differently in that situation. He could have done like what Mong likes to do and take like a weird hybrid build style where he does still get his gas, but he takes it at around about 14, 15 supply. So he's still going for bunker expand. It's just he's got a more optimized factory timing so that the tank is popping out before that attack comes in. And that's one of the strengths of plays like what Mong goes for, is because it does kind of hybridize the build order and get your factory timing a little bit quicker. So your siege mode and your tank is popping out at least like 10, 20 seconds ahead of schedule in that case. And maybe he wouldn't have taken so much damage had he gone for that more hybrid style bunker expand, but he did the most normal cookie cutter way of playing bunker expand and got heavily punished for it.
It makes sense, guys. We're going to hop into our next game here in just a moment. In fact, we're all ready to go now. Noob versus Zelot, guys. Let's jump into it. All right, here they are. Noob in the bottom right-hand corner. Zelot in the bottom left. This is one of your favorite Zerg players, I know, Xun.
Oh, yeah.
I've been following this guy for a long time and cheering for him. What's exactly is it from Zelot that really tickles your fancy?
Well, it's that he's got like 50 different ways he can kill you. It's just a matter of which one he's going to choose on the given day. Like, the amount of range of play this guy's got is absolutely insane. Like, it kind of boggles my brain how many build orders are inside this guy's head. And this is Zergos' Protoss, and the way he usually likes to play this is, say, he won't drone scout at all. So he's got extra minerals because he's not drone scouting, but to compensate, he'll make 4 lings to be safe against the potential of that initial Zealot pressure. The way he approaches the game is just different, you know. He thinks outside the box and isn't kind of relegated to the same school of thinking as the rest of the hive mind. He's almost like a detached brood that's gone his own way and evolved in a different path.
I like that. A renegade Cerebrit Zealot goes his own way and makes some very interesting plays look quite strong. He's very much a ladder Zerg and prefers to play on barcodes, so you can't know his style. And he can just surprise you over and over again with different crazy builds. But it gets kind of predictable when you know what you're up against. You know just to keep on scouting and looking for what kind of weirdness is coming out of Zelot. I think that's why he started to fall back a little bit more on macro-centric plays and playing a little bit more normally, and then occasionally throwing that stuff in, because that's where the best players in the world really shine. Like players like Soulkey, they don't play crazy every single game, but they like to mix it in every once in a while to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, he's kind of like the opposite, where he's got a lot of craziness. He can play macro, but he has got a lot of craziness he will pull out given the opportunity. But that's what makes these players so scary, is, you know, they can, if they wanted to, just sit back and macro and play a much more normal game plan. It seems like with the first Overlord Scout, he also doesn't even need to make 4 lings to be safe, seeing that this is Forge Fast Expand. So he's getting a little bit of an information advantage right off the bat, and that means he can optimize his timings a little bit better. One thing that makes him really scary is he can kind of mind game you with what cheese is actually going to be coming. So it looks like a 2-hatch lurker play, but really he's taking a 3rd base with a spire behind it, and he wants to finish you off with Mutalisks or something. Like, he's always got these like multifaceted game plans, so that there's contingencies upon contingencies of ways to execute and go for a win condition. So you can never really know for sure what's coming, even if you do like scan or scout the initial tech.
We're going to see something funky out of him here. At least a Hydra Den going to be thrown down right in the face. Oh, good blocks here from Noob, slowing that down just by a little bit. But I doubt this is for an all-in Hydra. Maybe is Noob thinking the same thing, and that's why it's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, he can like kind of double bluff and be like, oh, this must be a fake Hydra bust because I'm making it in your face. But then he could just like pull the trigger on committing to it and, you know, kind of kill you by making only a minimal amount of cannons or something. So there are definitely like mind games upon mind games when you're facing off against someone like Zelot, and all of these guys who have played hundreds of games with him know that he can do the same style of play in multi different variations, and they never really know what they're gonna get on the day. And I imagine he also keeps a few ace cards up his sleeve and doesn't pull out, you know, some of the variations until tournament setting as well.
That makes sense. Zelot, one of those guys. The only guy I think of when I think of that Hydra bust, the style that he does is very particular. The way that he lines up his Hydras, you've seen this, where he stacks them up in a long line and then does a secondary line behind that. And then all the Hydras move at the same time directly up to the gateway, and he's able to break down, even without range, a lot of these defensive positions. He has a very interesting way of doing it, just a bit of a uniqueness to him.
Yeah, he's almost like a Terran player in the sense of like he positions his units before going in. Looks like he actually might lose this Overlord, which is a bit annoying. He's not going to supply block him, but losing that detection is actually a pretty big deal. Because it's Zelot, though, he's got a second Overlord already near this rally point location for that potential eventuality. Like, he knew there was a chance that this Overlord would die, so we do have a second Overlord to the north still to keep the pressure on and prevent something like a DT shutting down this play. I think there's a bit of a miss rally here. I think there's a drone, actually, that made it to the rally point. A little bit of a mistake there from Zelot. But besides that, there's a lot of Hydra starting to stream across the map, and the bare minimum, he has to respect this and start making a lot of cannons. And there is a macro hatchery coming down at the natural 3rd, so he does have a transition point here. He doesn't have to commit to this.
Oh, trying to line up these Hydras, though. He is a bit too close. Wants to utilize that range that comes online here in a moment. Was there any Stargate for Noob, or is he just going directly into Citadel?
I think he might be going directly into the Citadel, you know. I don't think I saw a Stargate. I mean, it's possible he did make one, but I don't think so. I think he's going, yeah, just like 3 gate into Citadel.
There it is, Citadel on the way. This is a great way to counter early Hydralist play. That your opponent is kind of delaying the amount of drones they add on. Oh, coming out here and taking some fights, trying to put some damage on these, but losing the early Zealots is really painful. He is going to see the number of Hydras and realize what kind of trouble he is in, adding on more cannons here, but it's a bit problematic to be losing all these Zealots. The point of this build is to get that Zealot speed online very quickly. Your opponent is delaying the drones that they're going to be adding on for quite some time to get all these Hydras out. And then once you start to really push out with the Zealots, oh my gosh, more Hydras arriving here. He will have to back up again. Getting that information, though, is key. And you want to come across the map with all of the Zealots, force the Zerg player to continue to make Hydras and never really get into that full macro cycle, make a bunch of drones. Otherwise, they will get punished.
Yeah, this seems like an interesting build from Zelot because he has a 4th hatchery, so he might be looking for a pre-storm timing. He's probably not going to bust these cannons until about 7:30, 7:50, somewhere around there. So he's going to wait for another rally point of Hydras to meet up with this force and then probably pull the trigger on busting these cannons down just before storm is finishing up. There's no lair, so this can't be any kind of lurker transition or anything like that. It's going to be just a pure Hydra bust attempt. There's only 6 cannons and a wall of Zealots, so with good execution you can definitely make this work. The High Templars are now starting to come out, but it will take 10-20 seconds until that storm comes online for them. So he has a timing here where he can just pull the trigger right here now at the 7:50 mark and try and bowl over all these cannons.
What do you make of the second gas? Wow, okay, there's layer and evo chamber.
Okay, that's weird. I did not expect that.
Is going to start making drone. I was a bit concerned, weirded out by the second gas there. Okay, there we go. Diving in on top of the cannons. Zealots here. Just buying time at the front, letting the cannons deal their damage. Blowing out the probes as well. Still has all these High Templar alive, and I think this is over. That bust is done. You're not going to be able to get in there now with the storm finishing up, and you'll have to rely on this follow-up, which is a layer with some drones popping out here. His drone count's got to be low, though.
Oh, it is definitely low. It's probably barely 30. He is starting to squeeze out a few now, so it will be going up to 35 soon. I mean, the second gas made sense just to squeeze out a few more Hydras and get upgrades and what have you, but I mean, it is pretty painful because he got away with making only 6 cannons, which is pretty minimal for a pre-storm Hydra bust, to be honest with you. Like, you'd expect something like 8. Traditionally speaking, but because he went for the fast gateways, he had a higher count of Zealots than usual, so able to screen against that. And good storm dodging from Zelot. He has still got a potential soft contain to play with, so he can drone up pretty heavy, go straight up into 5-6 hatchery worth of production, try and make a normal game out of it. But ideally, he probably wants to race into a lurker tech so that he can start a more hard contain style play, but I'm not sure that's going to be in time here. It looks like Noob is already gearing up to eventually break out from this and not even worry about that becoming eventuality.
We might have a situation here where lurker eggs are being made right as the Protoss player pushes out, adding on his 4th hatchery at that 5th hatchery at that 3rd base. A 4th base is going to come up in the top left-hand corner. Zealot, really common actually when I watch Zelot that he doesn't put an extra hatchery in the natural. He much prefers to add them on at the 3rd. And he's gonna have to back up here pretty far. These storms go down, but actually a lot of that damage ends up going onto the Zealots. Very good storm dodging from Zelot. Can he actually get on top of some of these Templar? Doesn't seem so, and it looks like, yes, some of these eggs are going to end up going down. He makes an egg here, cancels it, and remakes it. And will just back away with the rest of his Hydras. Has he slipped out enough drones during this period that he's going to be fully online and able to defend?
Yeah, maybe. He did squeeze out quite a few during that soft contain phase, and I don't know, maybe he's done a good enough job of it. He's probably about 40-ish drones right now, and he's got some lurkers, but the problem is that, you know, Observatory's already finished up. He's going to be able to break out of this contain and just run by the initial couple of lurkers without worrying too much, besides with the shields getting shaved off there. And I'm sure his Zealots don't mind getting a little bit of a haircut. He's trying to get on top of this production line of the Zerg, but there's way too much steam available for Zelot now. I think Zelot's actually in a pretty good position. Seems like he did manage to squeeze out just barely enough drones to stay in this mid-game phase quite comfortably. The one thing going for Noob is that if he somehow figures out about this fourth base in the top left, he could probably take that out with a little Zelot hit squad. But currently doesn't really know about that, so can't really go for that sort of play. And Zelot could run away with this game. He's going to start setting up a contain if he can help it. He will eventually see the bad news that there is an observer already being made. But I don't know, maybe he can still set up this contain.
Still chasing around these Zealots a little bit out on the map, and this lack of SimCity in the natural might come into play now. Hydras are going to have to run up that ramp, probably make some lurker eggs on the ramp just to hold that stuff back. But in the meantime, Noob is pushing out. He's going to start to get out here on the map, throwing down one storm to clear out the remainder of these Hydras. A few more making their way forward. Can he get a couple of High Templar here? 2 or 3 High Templar kills is going to make all the difference in the world. Not able to get that second one. Zealot will be pressured back for now, and the Dragoon count is continuing to rise. These Zealots are still a problem out on the map. I really like how Noob is playing this, but he can't be losing any more of these observers. Getting a slowdown on this bust out is just going to be great for Zealot. So he keeps that alive and he pushes through. Now Noob is unleashed on the map, and what's Zealot to do?
Yeah, this is good from Noob, coming out a little bit earlier than he would usually. He hasn't got that many Dragoons, but he's got enough to break through the few lurkers that were there. Luckily, he's got one remaining observer to pull the trigger on that. Zelot now will be trying to scramble. And he's got units up in the top left to defend the possibility of a Zelot hit squad hitting that, which means he hasn't got enough back at home to defend against this. There's a massive, beautiful storm on those Hydras. That might be the killing blow. Zelot not able to set up back at home. And with those Hydras out of position in the northwest quadrant of the map, it's going to be a long time before he can scramble, get back here and start to flank this army from both sides. And without the SimCity, the natural, there is not much hope. He's got a lurker drop actually coming online, but look at these cannons from Noob. It's like he's reading him like a book, and he's seen this tactic from Zelot and he's figured it out. He could also do a massive storm on those drones, but he was on 74 energy, not quite enough to catch them on the exit. Now Zelot going to try and box in this army and kill it before it can retreat, but now the storms are coming online to blanket those Hydras and send them for a long nap.
Wow, it really does look like Noob may have played against Zelot a few times on the ladder before. He's got a good bead on what he's up to with those 2 cannons especially. Oh my goodness, these storms at the end of the day are not really going to matter, but they do massacre everything that's coming up there. Ouch, GG.
That's a good game, man. But I'm actually kind of happy about that, because that means Zelot is dropping down to the loser bracket to face off against Sharp, and I really do like his ZVT more than his ZVP. So I'm curious what bag of tricks Zelot's going to bring with him to that party. And instead, it's going to be Bishop versus Noob in the winners match, which we'll be joining in a few moments here. But I mean, this is just insanity. Like, I love watching players like Zelot play, because it kind of forces the other guy to play with more ingeniousness, right? Like, you saw a lot of innovation from Noob in that game, having to, you know, walk the tightrope without slipping off of it. And he definitely had to play a bit of an orthodox style, going for that 3-gate into Citadel and breaking out with an earlier robo timing, knowing that the style that Zelot was likely to try and execute. And there was a moment there where Zelot was close to running away with that game. He was almost even on supply. He had his hatchery set up 4th base in the top left. Just caught him with his pants down with that attack, and it was beautifully timed.
Beautifully timed indeed. Now I'm so curious to find out, what race is Bishop going to get here? A random player versus Noob. Noob looking quite strong. I wonder if Bishop can take him down if he gets something like Zerg. That's what I'd love to see. Getting that off race. One thing that was kind of contentious in Flash's run in the ASL when he was playing random is he kept getting Terran over and over again, and it was making everybody go insane. But we'll see if that repeats itself here. Or are we going to get a bunch of, Zerg games and Protoss games out of Bishop.
Let's get into it, and I'm curious. But yeah, you're completely right. Like, the one thing is beating Flash in a TVT is hard enough, but being TVT and it's random and you don't even know it's coming, that's crazy.
이번에는 지금 어떤 방법을 보여줄지.
Okay, here we go. Bishop versus Noob. And it is Zerg. Look at that. Called it. Let's go. Game 1 here.
Let's go.
Bishop down bottom left is Zerg. Noob top left. CVP. How do you open as Protoss versus random? I don't really know a great build for this.
I mean, there's a few schools of thought. You can play one gate tech. It's kind of okay against everything. You can play one base Protoss against Zerg. It's not optimal, but it's still good. It used to be how they used to play. It's only because of Bisu that they kind of revolutionized. Oh, hang on a minute. We can take our natural expansion early by making a fast forge and a Sim City and cannons, and then we figured out a new way of playing Protoss. But the old school way of playing was, early gateways and one base tech play. So we'll have to see if Noob wants to hedge his bets and go for something safe like that, like a one gate fast gas sort of play, and just to kind of hedge his bets, because it could be PvP, it could be PvT. So he wants to maybe try and do it as middle road build as possible. But to be honest with you, there is no optimal play. There is no, like, this build is great against all 3 races. And as you can see, he is taking that gas at 12, like I was thinking he would. So this is probably the only thing he can do to have a good chance against all 3.
I was thinking maybe Zealot pressure can be good against at least Zerg and Terran. I don't know about PvP. I'm not a...
Yeah, it's not so good against PvP. That's the problem, right?
Right.
Like, you go 2 gate and then they can just make a shield battery on the ramp or something, and like, it's just, yeah, not feeling so good, especially on Radiant, the long rush distances. It's just not optimal. I like this play from Noob, but he cancels the gas and goes 2 gate. So with the first scout, can start to optimize now.
Getting a little lucky there. Able to find out where Bishop's at and what his race is. And now he's trying to block this hatchery. Does get to block the first time, not the second time though. Bishop making a full 6 slings, and he's going to come check up here on the high ground. Find out that Zealots are being made, and there's going to be enough to block on the ramp most likely. He should be able to have the second Zealot out in time to just stand here and block. Make sure that these Zilings can't come up for free.
Right, yeah. And there's one thing that Bishop could have done is right-click the drone out and shift-click it back onto the minerals of Noob, and then he could have used the drone as a drill on these 2 Zealots on the ramp. But with only 6 Zerglings, it's not really worth going for that. That's only really good if you're planning on going up to 8 or 10 lings or something. You could do a delayed drone drill by shift-clicking the drone back to the minerals inside the Protoss base. In this case, it's probably way smarter just to play a normal game here and contain the Protoss.
So we're going to see a lot of Zealots coming out here. And Bishop will probably have to focus on getting a sunken colony up in his natural, but you know what? He throws down his 3rd. I don't know if this is the right response here. Going for a 3rd base when your opponent is just pumping non-stop Zealot, it's going to be very hard to keep that alive.
Well, he doesn't know this is a second gateway, right? Like, for all he knows, this
Wasn't
is
he
one
in there
gate
with
tech
the Wasn't he in there with the drone? I thought he checked.
I don't think so, was he?
He was in there far enough to see the mineral patches.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
It's kind of surprising. I mean, even if you're, even if you were just going for a one base tack play, taking a 3rd base, it spreads you out so thin as the Zerg. You don't really need that 3rd base. Much prefer to see a macro hatchery, and now the Zealots are pressuring. That's a lot of lings to try and defend this, but the Zealots are coming down, getting over towards this ramp. Great surround there on the 1 Zealot. That's a perfect surround. And he starts to hold this in a very strong way. Now Noob going to go up onto this high ground, start to harass the 3rd base. More and more lings are going to be made, and they're going to come up here soon, but Noob should be able to tuck behind these mineral patches and hide once the ling number gets too high.
Here comes 3 more Zealots to join the party. So it's going to be lots of beautiful surround, though. That's going to help even the trade up a little bit. If you can get the other 2 Zealots on the entry as well, that's pretty good. We can't quite get the full surround on those. So now we've got another massive hit squad of 6 Zealots, and only one of them is kind of bruised a little bit. So it's going to be extremely hard for Bishop to save this hatchery. Yeah, this 3rd base was a little bit ambitious from him. He's taking a lot of damage for free on that hatchery. The Zealot Sideblade starting to chomp through that. Eventually he's going to be forced to try and get this round trade. There's more than enough Zerglings to deal with this. Can he get a good enough surround? around. He's struggling to wrap around on the left-hand side. Noob done a good job of like isolating his Zealots into a tight formation, almost like a phalanx, but there should be enough meat of the Zerg to chew through these Zealots, and he will clean this up without losing that hatchery, so that's a pretty big deal.
Those surrounds playing a really big role in this cleanup. Catching 2 Zealots before they got fully grouped up and in a good defensive position. Are there 2 lings in the main
right now?
All right,
yeah,
2 lings in the main. But a few Zealots here at the front. The gateway is going to take a lot of damage here as the cannon tries to finish up. Okay, probes are going to be pulled. This cannon is under a lot of threat. Zealots coming off the line here, trying to defend this. Looks like he will be able to kill the majority of these lings, but he could end up losing his cannon here. A lot of stuff pulled off of the mineral line for Noob. He needs to get this gateway online and close up that entrance. He managed to kill off the stuff in the main, and so is going to stabilize here, but things were looking kind of hectic there for a moment as Bishop was pushing in and dealing that damage in the main.
Yeah, Bishop trying to prove that Terrans are the superior players, but having a really hard time in task switching the lings in the main of everything else and realizing, hang on a minute, maybe Zerg is not as easy as I once thought. Now he's going to have to rely on good surrounds with these speedlings to prevent the critical mass of Zealots to be leveraged. They can just make their way downtown and punish Noob, so he's now got to at least make a few eggs worth of Zerglings just to not die. But also Noob knows that, and he's just going to pressure with the Zealots and then run back home once those lings are already in production. One of the biggest weaknesses of Zerg is you can't really cancel your units once you've committed to them. So one of the best ways to mind game a Zerg is to force them to commit to making units they think they need to defend, and then just pull back and don't even commit to the attack to begin with.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest limitation of the Zerg. That larva being so important, you cannot cancel and lose that larva. And so Noob actually slips a Zealot out onto the map. This is completely gone unscouted by Bishop, and it's going to make its way right over here into the natural. He will pull back the links, and they've got speed, so they will be dealt. It will be dealt with pretty quickly, but it's going to get a full scout in the main, and maybe could even get a drone as well.
Yeah, I mean, the drone is the icing on the cake. The scout is what's so precious there. This is an absolute ninja Zealot. If it does kill a drone, that's going to be king. Oh, it's so close. Doesn't quite slip to the jab and finish that drone off. Just barely maintaining its consciousness and equilibrium there. Can he get another drone kill? No, he doesn't quite get the drone kills, but a little bit of lost mining time. But most importantly, he got the full scout off. He saw the Spire was just finishing up. So now he knows he's on the clock. He needs to pull the trigger right now and go and snipe this hatchery at the 6 o'clock. If he waits any longer, the mutas will eventually be out and start to do a cleanup. But can these lings get a run-by attempt? There's not much in the wall, but as soon as he sees these Zealots, he's going to pull around. I think this is a mistake from Bishop. He should have gone for a ling bust or a run by at least, because there's no way he's saving this hatchery regardless of what happens. And now he's kind of helping Bishop finish the game, because now these Zealots are also going to trade off the Zerglings before the Mutalists can come out and clean them up free.
Yeah, this was a miscalculation from Bishop. He didn't see the Zealots coming in towards that third base. He went right around them and reacted a bit poorly there the moment that he did spot that coming in. However, a lot of mutas are making their way into this main, and the cannons are finishing up a little bit slowly now. Like one muta is going to fall, and he actually keep this going by killing off each and every cannon. There's no Corsairs out here just yet. And there was one popping out, trying to run away. Looks like he's going to get the kill, or at least some damage onto that first Corsair. However, back at home, losing some drones here in the natural and being forced back. This cannon's going to go down as well. Looks like the main base is forfeit. Doesn't seem like Noob will be able to keep that alive. Will end up losing that Stargate and everything. Back at home, Bishop is clearing out all of these Zealots. Some Dragoons are going to pop in. There's another Corsair. 2 Corsairs, 3 Corsairs are active, and a couple of Dragoons. Can he save himself here in this main base, or will Bishop continue to snowball that? Well, he's defending a lot back at home, dealing with these Zealots. Finally, he can bring everything to bear here, but Noob is starting to push this back. It's just, there's just so little production here. There's so little income there. Another Corsair may end up going down.
Okay, he does connect one of those Scourge, but not the second. Now he can use those Scourge to soften this up. Bishop is going to tap out though. GG. If only he was on top of his Scourge control during all of this. There was just too much chaos to keep track of, and the fact that he couldn't just keep sniping those Corsairs as they were popping out gave a lot of the wind back in the sails of Noob to stabilize, supporting those Dragoons on the ground with his small Corsair fleet. Did pay dividends in the end. If only he could snipe those Corsairs one at a time as they popped out with his Scourge. He had a win condition there, but as it stands, unfortunately, Noob is just too good for Bishop.
자, 경기 시작됩니다. 먼저 보이는 진영이죠. 11시 김범수.
We're jumping straight in, guys. What's he gonna get? Bishop! Terran, his main race down here at the bottom left. Noob over in the top left. 1-0 for him. He's in a bit of a lead here, but with his main, can Bishop even out the series?
Now the problem is that he can't go for something like a Nexus first, because this could be a fast pull, it could be Protoss versus Protoss, and you can't really go for Nexus first in those situations, especially on a 3-player map. The one saving grace is that he's more likely to scout Bishop early on in this game, with only, you know, one possibility of guessing wrong here. So it's going to be a coin flip whether or not he goes in the right direction. Can he? Oh, he's going to send the probe in the wrong direction. And it's a small victory for Bishop not being scouted first here. Not only is he going to avoid any of that probe harass, one of the best things about pylon scouting against Terran is you can put a lot of pressure on with that probe harass and slow down the factory timing. But as it stands with the delayed scout, he's not going to be able to optimize his own build order too greatly. Although I imagine he's going to hedge his bets and go 1-gate tech anyway until he scouts Bishop. So we'll probably be seeing a normal gas timing regardless.
Yeah, that one gate tech is fine here. Noob should be able to get himself into a reasonable spot, even though he's scouting this second. Got that 12 gas coming down. Was delayed just slightly here from Bishop. Looks like he started it, but it wasn't quite ready. Didn't have quite enough money there. Might be throwing off his timing just ever so slightly. He may have been practicing mostly Zerg and Protoss in the lead up to this because, you know, relying on this Terran play, just being at, you know, the highest level, knowing that those two races are going to be his weakness, might not have practiced too much Terran in the lead up to this.
Yeah, and Terran is a really hard race in the sense of you need to grind out a lot of games to smooth the edges in your play and make sure that you're able to wipe your eye and stir your tea appropriately as you go. But in this situation, I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. I'm sure he's got enough wealth of experience which he can fall back on. He didn't even take too much harassment to that initial probe, bumping bellies with his SCV and forcing out of his base, putting onto very low HP for the Marine to potentially snipe, so has to rely on this Zelot for any scouting from now on. He does pulled every SCV off besides one on the gas, so it does seem like he wants to play a very standard style. It's not going to be anything like a 2-factory or anything like that. So we probably will see a relatively normal game from both players, although he has starting to add on his gas SCVs a tiny bit earlier than usual. So I'm wondering, is this going to be some sort of crazy 1-1-1 build, or what's he going to go for here?
2-fact is pretty popular on this map, I gotta say. It's made a comeback.
Yeah.
As of late, and there's that possibility. Marines backing away those Zealots, going to get full scouting information in this main base, seeing that factor in the timing. Good setup from Bishop. There's that second factory out on the map. Interesting, and I'm not sure if Noob's going to pick up on the fact that there were extra SCVs mining this gas. If he noticed that, he should suspect something.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, he only went back to mining 3 on gas for a little bit and then took 1 off again once he managed to start building the second factory. And the Zelot didn't come into the base quick enough to see when he added those SCVs back to gas or not. So this might look quite normal to Noob. It might be hard for him to sniff out. Only someone like Bisu or Snow or someone that's really dialed into every second of the possible gameplay shenanigans that can occur is going to dial in and see the matrix code and be like, hey, that doesn't align, and they're going to figure it out. But the majority of these pro gamers, as good as they are, will struggle to sniff that out without perfect scouting information.
Bishop is hoping that Noob is going to move out,
벌처가
have these Dragoons on the other side of the map, maybe harassing that bunker, and he can slide through with a Vulture. So far, getting this first Vulture kind of caught out. This is a little bit rough for Bishop, who's going to probably lose this. Indeed, he does. Going for a bit of harassment there does not pay off for Bishop.
I mean, this is really brutal because this is only one gateway worth of production for Noob before taking this Nexus, and he's going for a fast robo play. Like, this 2 factory should punish this, but because he's lost that first Vulture, he's now in a little bit of trouble because, I mean, he's not doing like a tank version of this push. Like, he could be going up to like 3 siege tanks with 2 machine shops and really put the pressure on, but he is relying on mines and Vultures to do the heavy lifting here with just the siege tank playing point defense, and the Marines going to be buffering for that and soaking up the phase disruption shot. So, I mean, this should be a much more potent push than it will be. Catching up that first Zelot, there's 3 less mines to worry about, less fragmentation grenades shaving off your shields, and suddenly this might be a holdable push for Noob, despite only having that initial 1 gateway of production. He's got about 5 total Polish units to do so. These 2 Dragoons are now exposed, though. Maybe Bishop can still make it work regardless. Beautiful surround with these mines laid in the wake of this Protoss army. Good body blocking as well, helping the arc light cannons of that tank connect. 1 Dragoon falling, Zelot falls as well. There's not much remaining for Noob here, and without any pylon natural expansion, there's no chance of a shield battery either. He's relying on the pro pull only to make this work. Does manage to get a decent pro pull going, but now he's gonna just lose so many of those probes with the target firing from Bishop. He might get on top of the tank.
Ooh, the tank goes down. These Vultures are having a hard time targeting the probes. That's what you really need them for. Dealing with all of these probes here. Mine goes down and that Dragoon falls. Now he can go to work on every single probe, and as soon as he gets mines on the top of this ramp, game is almost over. Noob has to get up here, try to stop this from occurring, but he loses that mine, or he loses that Dragoon to the mine. Tank up here on the high ground has a little bit too much health. 3 gateways are done, and so lots of goons are going to be popping out. Can these Vultures make their way into position in time? Throw down these mines on top of the Vultures here. There is an observer down here on the low ground. It's going to be revealing all of this stuff, and the tank is getting in quite deep. The Dragoons can start to clear all this stuff out. Dragoon pops out. Dragoon does take that mine hit. Tanks are clearing everything up. Some of the mines are being cleared, but this Vulture here at the top getting so much damage, killing more and more and more probes as 1 Dragoon managed to make its way into the mineral line and deal with that Vulture. The other Vulture going to go around over to the top here. Vultures coming in from every angle. It's a bit of a tornado Terran situation here as Noob desperately tries to hold on to everything while Bishop tries to end this game as quickly as possible.
He's trying to spin to win right now, and I can't even speak. The what's it called? Slot machine is definitely paying out right now for Bishop. He's getting a lot of value with every one of those pulls of the leather. Now going to make a CC behind this and play a bit of a normal game and float that Proxy factory back to the safety of his main. He killed so many probes there that Noob kind of has to make something work in the follow-up. Like, he has to put some pressure onto Bishop now to try and compensate, but he did lose a lot of those Dragoons. The one thing going for him is that he does have these fast observers to push out onto the map. He's worried about a run-by with these Vultures, though, and he definitely should be concerned about that, because offense will be the best form of defense here for Bishop, wanting to slip in those Vultures into the back line. If Noob does go for some kind of counterplay, the only real option would be to make a pylon wall, but with how many probes were killed, he just can't afford to commit into making a massive wall of pylons and push.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to do that, at least for the time being. He's trying to make use of this early second Nexus to try and replenish that probe count. Seems like Bishop has a pretty decent saturation of SCVs at his main base, and he's going to be transferring those over to the natural. His economy will be pretty good, but things are kind of evening out now. It's not like either player is completely dead. Noob will have an opportunity to counter harass with Reaver and potentially might get this third base up here soon, whereas Bishop is going to be able to sit back, just keep on harassing, looking for opportunity to shut down probes and getting on into his mid-game and whatever timings he might have therein, looking for that third base and what have you. Noob here being very cautious with the way that he's clearing out these mines. Xun, he's just taking a couple of Dragoons at a time, and he is getting a little bit punished for that, but at least he's not getting run by in the natural and losing any more probes.
Right, yeah, he's technically in this game. He does have very minimal probe saturation. Relative to the game state, it's not too bad of how slow this expansion is from Bishop, but when all said and done and the dust has settled, this is a little bit of a Terran advantage game. I mean, this third base is coming down at 9 minutes. You would expect that to be slowed down by, yeah, like 1 or 2 minutes roughly. But it's going to be on the end of that spectrum, closer to being slowed down by almost 3 whole minutes because of all the craziness that did occur earlier on. So Bishop going to be enjoying a bit of a lead going forward. If Noob can't get any damage done to Bishop in this game, eventually Bishop should be able to outscale him. It's going to come down to whether or not Bishop botches any of these move outs and whether Noob can jump on these tanks and pick them off as they come across the map. If he can't achieve that, he might just run over Noob here.
Bishop has not been scouted with this move out. Noob is going to get caught a little bit unawares here as the vultures run up to the natural. Going to set up some mines here, maybe drag these Dragoons to and fro. The tanks are over on the right-hand side, and yeah, Noob has no idea. Shuttle here on the high ground. There's the Reaver looking for its first shot. Does get a very nice shot there. Could get a tank kill. Very close to that tank kill now. Does get a great target on that Reaver, losing a bunch of health on that. Nice triple kill on those vultures, though. Big trades back and forth between these two, but Bishop finds himself in a pretty good spot here on the right-hand side, albeit a bit of a tentative position considering he's on the other side of, of the map right now. I mean, Noob is between him and his rally.
Yeah, he's trying to put Noob on a clock and force him to come to him prematurely before he's built up enough. He's got quite a few siege tanks and mines. Noob could just dive onto these tanks with the speed shuttle, though. Luckily, there's some marines and vultures to buffer against that eventuality. So it seems like there's a lot of pressure on Noob right now. He's going to have to pull the trigger on breaking out. Uses the Zelot to soak up some of those mines and gives up the tank. Unable to find the connection on those. Reaver goes down to the tank as well. Doesn't manage to pop that. So now these two tanks on the high ground going to be spelling disaster for Noob. That Nexus might fall.
Yeah, that Nexus is just about to go down. It's unfortunate. Noob there dropped both the Reavers on top of that tank and wasn't able to get it. Good target fire from Bishop. There might have been an opportunity to maybe drag some of those mines from the low ground, these mines here, into some of these tanks, but I think he had double Reaver in that shuttle and he lost them both, and the Nexus goes down as well. Noob is in a really bad way now. Bishop is in full control of this game, and he's going to be looking for that closer. Doesn't mean he's going to find it, but Noob is in a desperation mode here.
Yeah, he's got really low HP on his shuttle as well, so to make sure the Marines don't shut it down. It's so close. Bishop looking to target that down and get some great value trades out of the remnants of this force up here. These are basically sacrificial units at this point. He has no intention on getting these back to safety. Oh, he does get the shuttle with the Marine. That's insane. That's a pretty big deal. He will eventually get that probe over there to take down the Nexus, but look at Noob's bank. He's completely in disarray and probably tilted out of his mind of how this game has gone. It's kind of hard to keep your wits about you when all this craziness is occurring, and Bishop definitely getting under his skin and will be able to take his third base now and probably uncontended. It's going to be really tricky for Noob to punish this. Bishop can just sit back and power up on 3 bases, and there's no real need to go out onto the map now as Terran.
Bishop looking very strong, and his position looking nearly unbreakable with the 4 Goliaths there as well. He'll be able to gun down any shuttle. Not that he has one right now. Ooh, 2 Dragoons fall, making their way over towards this natural. That immediate damage is really going to hurt. Double expansion for Noob. He's got to find a way to catch up. Is this the right way, though?
I mean, it's a way, saying it might be one of the only ways he can come back to try and leapfrog himself forward in this game. It's going to take him about 5 minutes potentially to stabilize and, kind of edge ahead of Bishop once again. He's kind of hoping that Bishop will just sit back on 3 bases and tech up into 2-1, and I think he is going to do that. So the double expansion might be able to pay some dividends later on, but for the time being, Bishop going to be enjoying a very comfortable game state. These 2 vultures sharking around the map will maybe see this Nexus, so he will be able to figure out exactly what he needs to do going forward as well, knowing what the game plan is from Noob. There could be some kind of carrier transition from Noob in this situation. It's just very hard to make that work. He's going to be struggling to afford a normal ground-based army as it is. To try and go carriers behind that as well, it's a little bit risky. Sometimes though, when you are behind, you take some pretty calculated risks because you know that the stars kind of do have to align for you to kind of make up that deficit. Seems like he's going to go for a normal gateway man style and rely predominantly on just, you know, storms in shuttles to try and make the comeback happen. If he does manage to storm the mineral lines of Bishop later on, that might be a way of coming back.
Could get a very high value storm indeed. Start to bring himself back into a good economic position. I can't imagine that Bishop will want to let this stand. This 4th base came out so early, sitting on about the same number of gateways right now as there are factories, but he hasn't started adding on a lot more factories here just yet. No factory explosion indicating that Bishop wants to go for an immediate attack. He may just be looking to take this 4th and, like you said, going into a 2-1 timing. Bishop here going to combine that with a drop potentially coming into the main base, looking for some more kills. That drop is kind of sitting idle for the moment here as he scans around the map and decides what to do next. Double shuttle maybe coming into this main base though. Nothing floating over here, and so he can kind of fly by for the most part these 2 turrets that were prepared diligently by Bishop over in this bottom right hand corner. Not flying in just yet, but it looks like he's ready to do so.
Yeah, it's a shame he hasn't got like a floating science facility or something over there. That'd be great. Look at this little tactical drop here from Bishop. I think on the shuttles as well, trying to get some counter damage. Mine connection on. Oh, so many SCVs just went down to that. That was insane. I mean, this is pretty good damage from Noob, but it's not enough to come back in this game. This base is almost mined out anyway. Like, Bishop's not worried too much about losing some SCVs at this junction. He's gone down to 2 bases worth of saturation anyway, so losing a few SCVs isn't the worst case scenario for him. He's already done damage in Noob space as well, so it's actually more favoriting Bishop in this current scenario. It's going to be basically 2 base Terra into 3 base Protoss, and Bishop's more than comfortable with that positioning, especially of how slow the tech is going to be for Noob. So he's probably identified that his slow upgrades are going to be more than enough to make the trades go his way later on. So he's probably still content just to sit back for the time being and power up, and we probably won't see Bishop attack until he's at like 160, 180 supply.
That was quite the trade back and forth. Drop inside of Noob's main base was able to get quite a few kills. In fact, Bishop is now 11 supply ahead after all that drop play, and he's going to be returning with another 2 drops. He's actually got 3 drops out. That's kind of wild. He really wants to push Noob to the limit here, knowing that he expanded a little bit too far out, too quickly, and is trying to cover too many bases with too few units. This drop could get a lot more damage here. Maybe even pick off some of these pylons, these Artosis pylons that are powering a lot of this stuff. Drop here in the midst of all these tanks is actually going to deal with this quite quickly, though.
Yeah, he's lucky that he had the shuttles waiting on standby to pounce on this. That SimCity would have made it really tricky to get the Zelots on top of those tanks otherwise. Doesn't quite find the mine connection on that high template either. But, I mean, this is still okay for Bishop. I mean, this attack didn't go so well, but he's more than happy just to sit back with this mineral only. And like I said, he probably isn't planning on moving out onto the map until like 160, 180 supply. It's like though he's now playing a little bit ahead of schedule. He's almost okay. He's almost at 160 supply, so I guess it's okay. There's his 2-1 timing, so that's why he's moving out right now. He would be a little bit ahead of supply if he didn't lose those drop ships and units for free in the main base of Noob. He's now going to take the center of the board, much like Lightwood, and try and circumnavigate the issue of these pizza slice low to high ground transitional points, and instead try and abuse this geometry in the center of these little high ground pillars, preventing good surrounds from the Protoss and try and exploit these tight little corridors.
Oh my goodness. Big trades back and forth. Those Dragoons wandering into a tank line. Drop in the main while the Spider Mines continue to prove that they're Protoss units. Killing off a massive number of vultures there. Really unlucky for Bishop in that moment, but he is clearing out the army in the main, that drop in the main. However, pushing forward at the same time. A little bit unadvised here, unadvisable. Big storms on all of these tanks that were not being paid attention to. It seems like Bishop sieged those without even looking, realizing that they were out of position and just tried to get the most out of them that he could. Rough trades all around, but it seems like Noob came out on top.
Yeah, no, that was definitely an ill-advised move out, Saiyan. I mean, the Storm is one of the best comeback mechanics in the game, and it was used to full effect there. Just tanks on their own, clumped up, not going to be nearly enough to hold the line against the Goon Templar army. And now suddenly Noob, with a lot more wind in his sails to surge forward and maybe prevent any additional expansion efforts from the Terran, while also trying to seize his zone. He can start to try and take the 3 o'clock base and get another rally point and main base going. He just made a nexus there now. If he can just slow down the Terran from splitting the map in half horizontally and doing the same, he'll be feeling really good about this. But I mean, Bishop knows this is a win condition for Noob. Bishop knows that if he gets this 3 o'clock base, he's in trouble. So he's laying down lots of mines to cover his flank, and he's going into that 3 o'clock base pocket now with some vultures to shut that down. So a great identification here from Bishop, reading the game state despite not having perfect information.
Yeah, that earlier push, it seemed like he, clicked those out onto the map and then went back to deal with the drop and wasn't really paying attention. You have to pay such close attention to your push as a Terran player, making sure that nothing is waiting there for you, that the Protoss is not standing right where you're moving and ready to jump on top of all of your army. You have to be very diligent with those move outs. And now we've got a triple drop coming in, finally utilizing all 3 of these drops. Gonna get quite a bit of damage going here in the main. This is like almost TVT levels of dropship now. This is not at all what you expect from a TVP, but look at all the Goliaths in this push. That's kind of crazy. He's going to be able to get rid of the shuttle, not allow stuff to drop on top of this, and he's going to keep everything back. He did take a lot of damage on these Goliaths, so they will just pop immediately as soon as any tank fire lands on top of them. Zealots will be able to clear out the rest. Kind of a funny move from Bishop, but it looks like it's not going to lead to much.
Well, it's pulling all the army back for Noob, which is allowing Bishop to try and shut down these base attempts from Noob. Like, he's playing whack-a-mole with all these nexus that are sprouting out around the map. The pluralization, that's actually nexi, but I rarely need to say that. But in this case, there are so many bases sprouting up for Noob. I better get used to that pluralization. There's another expansion going to be set up from Bishop down here at the 6 o'clock pocket. I mean, this is going to be a pretty wild game. He's lucky. It looks like Noob's even identified that Artosis pylon situation is going to be making a second one there just to prevent that eventuality. See how drop heavy is. Another vulture raid at the 4th base of Noob as well. And with the upgrades, those cannons do not hold the line at all. They buy you a few seconds to react, and that's it. Look how fast those cannons die to those upgraded vultures. And now he's going to lose potentially so many probes and maybe even the High Templars that have come in to support this. Pretty good storms blanketing those vultures to prevent total devastation. But still, Bishop kind of in the driver's seat of the amount of harassment he's been able to achieve this game and slowing down this expansion path of Noob.
Wow, that was a pretty risky storm that was thrown down on the bridge as Noob was retreating those probes away. I thought for sure he was going to end up nuking every probe in his own probe line, but somehow threading the needle with that. Managing to get most of those out alive, keeping his economy online. Now maxed out and looking to take more bases. He's having a very hard time. Another drop into the main. Dude, he's actually going to start to deal damage to these robos. Robos are starting to go down in the main. How wild is this game already? Kind of crazy. Big storms here.
I mean, this is a
lot of these SCVs got away.
Yeah, he preemptively pulled those SCVs, knowing that that was a possibility. And look at that blanket of Storm between all 4 of those siege tanks. It only hits 3 of them. Storm is kind of like a tight square. The animation is slightly bigger than the hitbox, so it's hard to get it perfectly positioned. Another massive move out, though, from Bishop, putting a lot of pressure on this mineral only. D-Matrix on the periphery tank will fall in short order. He's hoping that these units are out of position enough to make this attack work, and there is a lot of Storm to start chewing through this Terran metal, but hopefully the tank line is deep enough, he's thinking, that I can still make this work. If he can just rally up a few more rounds of units, Bishop might have a kill move here to initiate. There's a couple of Dragoons back at home trying to disrupt Bishop and draw his attention elsewhere. Looks like Bishop is now going to be relegated to try and play whack-a-mole with some of these expansions that are not so dried up on the right-hand side of the board. This natural fourth base over here is going to be targeted by him now.
Yeah, he's gonna go in and try to get rid of this base. More Templar, more storms are gonna come out here. That's very annoying. Still slowing this stuff down, but Noob is running on empty. Only 134 is just not enough to challenge Bishop on the map. He needs some amazing Zealot bombs to start to clear out some of this stuff. Some great storms as well are gonna be necessary. This is pretty good stuff, man. He's actually maybe gonna save this base.
Yeah, I think he might come in here and do this, you know, and he stopped the pros from mining to make sure too many of them didn't go down as well. Some vultures coming into 3 o'clock. Those 2 cannons might just barely hold against that number of units for the time being. Noob will eventually be able to save that base as well. He's going to try and kill the probes that are mining instead, but he's hitting the mineral only. Meanwhile, he's pulling Noob to and fro. It's almost like Bishop is playing more like a Protoss player right now. Maybe he had enough time playing Protoss as random. He figured out some tricks to use as Terran as well, and has completely adapted his game, his play style as a result, trying to pull his opponent to and fro and force them to commit all their forces to one side of the map and then hit him elsewhere. And he's trying to do some knockout blows with these hooks that are coming in, but Noob's going on the counter offensive, trying to head downtown to this mineral only of Bishop, which is one of his most precious mining bases right now, since he hasn't yet taken the 6 o'clock.
Yeah, this is a scary counter attack. Bishop has been making this so wacky and wild. It seemed like he was going to be able to punch through on Noob's side of the map, but now Noob with the counter, looking very punchy himself, dropping into the main. Look at this, he's elevatoring into the main base. Have you ever seen a player like this? Oh my gosh, the storms. 13 kills in that third base. Dude, this is getting really weird now as Bishop just barely holds the natural and starts to push even deeper into that main.
I mean, that CC being alive, that could be flowed to 6 o'clock, is the only thing that's maybe keeping Bishop in this game. He has a lot of options still, but he has lost a lot of his SCVs. The majority of their supply is army right now, so it's a little bit deceptive. It looks like they're even on supply, but the reality is that Bishop has hardly any workers behind this. He has to execute right now. He has to try and finish the game with what units are currently on the board. He has got so many units inside the main base of Noob, and he has slowed down the expansion path of Noob for so long that there's not another rally point set up with gateways at the 3 o'clock. So most of the production is in the main base for Noob. So if Bishop can somehow shut that down, as well as doing some harassment of a few units elsewhere on the map, Bishop can definitely finish this game despite losing that many workers.
I think a big advantage here Bishop could have is if he snipes down some more observers. You know, he killed the robos in this game. I think he just killed the observatory as well. There's not going to be any more observers made, and then mines become just disgustingly efficient. So if he's able to kind of figure out where these observers are and start to snipe them down, that could be a really big key part of Bishop coming in, or winning this game. He's already kind of ahead right now, but a counterattack is coming his way. He needs to keep some amount of economy online if he wants to take it any further. He is clearing out the main and getting rid of most of Noob's gateways, but Noob is remaking those down in the center right, so there's still a possibility here. Diving through all of this stuff, gonna get a lot of these kills on SCVs. So many SCVs have gone down here. He's so limited on economy. Noob has the economy, he just doesn't have the production.
This is just absolutely crazy. It was a complete role reversal in this game. I mean, I don't even know how to call this, saying. Like, I mean, technically Bishop should win, but he's lost so many of these SCVs that the longer the game goes on, the larger Noob's chances start to amount to something here. But for the time being, Noob in a little bit of trouble. There is a chance of all these army of Bishop out on the map could be leveraged into finishing the game. He's only just now setting up his 3 o'clock production line. He's hoping that that's going to be more than enough to kind of seize the day and put the pressure back onto Bishop. He is getting all those gateways online now, but it's been a long time coming. Now going to be trying to get... Oh, he needs to be careful not to lose any of these units for free. Oh my gosh, if he loses any more of these units to mines, that might just be game over. Look how close he is to those mines. Oh, it's so close.
Couple more connections there. Bringing so many of these Dragoons really low. The tanks with their +3 are going to be able to melt those blue goo-filled robots. And an army making its way over towards that center right now. He's going to find the... Oh, the probe transfer! He finds the probe transfer coming in. He's also going to be able to find out that most of the tech and production has been remade over here at the center right. He is going to be able to get rid of some of these probes, but it does seem like Noob is reestablishing himself. He just needs a little bit more time to come back online.
Yeah, I mean, Bishop's taken a long time in clearing out that main base and leveraging the units that he's had. So despite enjoying a comfortable supply lead for quite some time, it's been a very slow going for him actually pulling the trigger on executing that advantage. And now Noob's been able to establish the production line over at this 3 o'clock pocket, and the game still goes on. I mean, this natural expansion's already mined out, so Noob isn't too worried about losing that now. Most importantly is his 3 o'clock base and the natural expansion that's being taken south of that. Bishop knows that he needs to start pushing horizontally, but he's going to go via the center of the map as well to try and abuse the geometry here. As long as he can avoid big storms, he can make this work, but he's clumping up his tanks a lot, so he might still be in trouble. He's trying to bait out storms with the vultures, but he keeps clumping his tanks every engagement like this. I don't know how he's gonna overcome the storm advantage. Look at how much storm damage is coming down to his tanks. There's not enough energy though to finish them off, and with that D-Matrix, he should be able to clean up this force in the center. Hang on a minute, suddenly Bishop is doing it, and there's not enough production left remaining for Noob to exploit, and he's just gonna have to out here, and we are tying things up 1-1, saying we are gonna be going to a third decider match between these two monsters of players.
That's what I like to see, Xun, getting into our third game here in the best of 3. I'm so curious what's gonna come out for Bishop. Which race is he gonna get, guys? Let's jump into that game number 3 right now. Truly crazy game, that game number 2, but Bishop's managed to even things out, and here he is with Zerg in the bottom left-hand corner. Noob gonna start a pylon in the base. Really no other way to play here when you don't know what your opponent's race is. You can't just go for a forge fast expand. If it's a Terror player, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, if he goes for a normal factory timing, he can just absolutely smack you down with a play like that. Would hold something like a BBS or, you know, some kind of marine cheese early on, but if it's any kind of tech timing from the Terran player, it just isn't good enough, unfortunately. It's going to be that one gate play here from Noob, waiting to try and scout early with the pylon scout and then hedges bets. He can take the gas and then cancel it once he realizes that it's going to be Zerg in the bottom left, and make a second gateway to try and optimize his build. And 2 gateway into expansion is more than viable for Protoss players. It used to be one of the more standard ways of playing back in the day, so Noob won't be too annoyed about having to hedge his bets with his build orders a little bit here. And it looks like he might just barely scout ahead of time. And he's not making the gas. So he's kind of like anticipating this not being a Terran player. And he is completely right.
All right, what's his reaction after seeing the Zerg down here in bottom left? Is he going to grab that gas, or are we going to see a quick Nexus? I think it might be okay for him to just build a Zealot and get a Nexus down. Maybe he can still make a Forge and then Natural. Maybe go Forge plus Cybernetic Core. I'm not so sure, though. Let's see what he decides to go with. It's definitely not optimal having the Gateway out of the Natural, but yeah, it looks like he will just take the Nexus.
I mean, with cross map as well, I guess he's considering this being a better option. It's not, you know, too much to worry about. It's certainly not optimal, though, not having a perfect sim city to work with. It does put you, you know, at risk of being Hydra busted pretty easily, or just an all-in Ling attack as well is now going to be viable for Bishop. We could see a 3-hatch all-in Ling trying to overwhelm Noob. That's definitely a possible eventuality. And that's something you would definitely see back in the day if Protoss players were a little bit too greedy and trying to get an expansion without a wall in. you suddenly would just get flooded with Zerglings. So we'll have to see if Bishop wants to go for something like that to counter a Noob here today, or whether or not he will try and play a more tried and true standard game. Depends on how confident he is in his Zerg versus Protoss. He did lose that game number 1 against Noob in similar situations, so maybe wanting to adjust and go for a different style here this game.
Yeah, we'll see what he wants to go with as he scouts the natural. Gonna see Forge there being thrown down. Just gonna chase the probe for now. Zealot was not sent across the map, instead playing pretty safe. We might actually get a longer game here. It's possible. Maybe Bishop wants to go into a layer and just try to tack up. I would be interested to see what kind of play we see out of this Terran.
I mean, you say that, but he is popping out a few additional pairs of Zerglings here, saying it does look like a Ling run by going to be attempted here from Bishop. And I can't blame him. Like, this is such a golden goose of an opportunity to Ling run by, or at least put some pressure on to Noob early on. He doesn't have to necessarily go all in Lings here, but certainly could put the pressure on. And as you can see, the timing of the cannon is really slow. So if he somehow picks off this probe and runs by, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. He's at the very least going to force a lot of probes to come off the line to try and save this.
All right, quite a few probes there. Oh, he didn't pull back far enough with the Zealot there at the bottom side. 3 Lings were able to attack that. You need to pull back just a little bit further. You can see now the Zealot is in a good spot. That position right there, only 1 link in it, the Zealot, and it takes a long time to get rid of it. Cannon is done. It looks like Noob will hold. Does need to make another Zealot and stick it in that hole, though. Cannot be complacent here. Make sure that he's got a probe in the middle, and it is indeed there in the middle. Layer on the way. I believe that's a Hydroden there too. So layer plus Hydroden. Is he going to go for a lurker bust?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if Bishop wanted to win a lot of style points, what would have been really cool is if he pulled 1 drone to come and join the fight with those Zerglings, and with the Overlord Scout in the natural, we could have used that 1 drone to drill the Zealot out of the wall and allow the Zerglings to quickly slip in and surround that cannon just before it warped in. That would have gave him pimpers play points, to say the least. I've only been able to execute that like 1 time in a real game, but it's so satisfying when you can pull something like that off.
I wouldn't expect something that specific to come out of a random player. He's going to be looking for a quick win here either way, though, I think. As Hydras are coming out. Seems like a lurker play to Mishan. And what does he do? 4, 5 lurkers and a huge wave of Lings? He's got enough gas to maybe make 4 as these Hydralists arrive. And indeed, he's going up to 4 Hydras so far. Gonna back away as the Zealots push out, but he's definitely looking to crush these Zealots and open up a way for these lurkers to come in.
Yeah, I mean, he could just end the game with the lurkers as well. Like, it doesn't have to be a lurker contain. He could utilize the lurkers to actually bust through, potentially.
Yeah, lurker
if
bust.
There's not that many cannons set up. He can just bowl over the Protoss player instantly. And he's got a lot of Zerglings flooding behind this. And he can position the lurkers in such a way that only 1 cannon at a time can help because of how staggered the cannons are placed. I'm not sure if he'll take the time to actually set that up. It's a little bit more finicky. Someone like Zelot would go for the perfect positioning on that. Maybe not Bishop here. We have to see how well he can execute his attack. He's baited the Zealots into a trade. Now the rest of the Zerglings are going to follow up and get a perfect surround on those Zealots. They're trying to shut down the Zealot force early. There's no way that they can scout out these lurkers and defend against that. Hopefully he can make additional cannons now, but if he doesn't, he might just get bowled over by these lurkers. I think he's going to die, saying this is a lot of pressure coming his way.
Yeah, the Lings are going to run by. And as the lurkers run right up to this ramp, they're able to hit the first cannon. I don't think they're able to hit the second one. Maybe a few of them can, but in the end, the Lings are going to make their way through, and GG is called. Very nicely executed bust there. That was well played by Bishop for sure. Gets himself a seat in the round of 16, man. Just like that, busting through. Very nicely played.
I mean, I can't believe we've got a random player going through to the next stage already. That's absolutely bonkers, man. And that's going to be very spicy and fun to keep watching as the tournament progresses. So that's definitely good for the viewers back at home to see that random player going to be going through to the next stage. Noob not out of it yet, though. He's going to be joining us in this final match coming up here. Can he still go through? He's probably a little bit salty after that because he did deal with the Zerg of Bishop so well in game number 1 and kind of got blindsided here. But I think that was a build order mistake from Noob being that greedy with the fast Nexus play. There's just so many possibilities and avenues to punish that with a 3-base Zerg setup. You can do like a massive 3-based all-in Ling, the Lurker bust we saw, even a drop into the mains are possible. You can rush drop tech and like, you know, suddenly like elevator units up into the main as well with like Lurkers hitting the mineral lines. There's so many opportunities for Zerg to be crazy in that situation, and Bishop seems like he's had enough practice time to make that an eventuality. But now we're going to be joining Sharp and Zelot in that loser bracket, which I'm super stoked for because some crazy shenanigans might be occurring.
For sure. I mean, we can't fault Noob too much. The amount of practice that you can get against random, not very much. Like, not many players are playing random these days, and not many players can do it at a high level, that's for sure. So we can't blame him too much. I'm very happy that Bishop gets through. More exciting random games for the future. But for now, Sharp versus Zelot. Let's jump in.
1시와 7시.
All right, here we are. Sharp over here in the bottom left-hand corner. We've got Zelot in the top right.
빨간색과 파란색.
Big cross map here for game number 1. Radion, lots of space to work with. Might be hard for Zelot to pull off some crazy cheese on this map with this much area to pass over in order to get to this front base.
If he heard you say that, he'd be like, hold my beer, Saiyan, because this could still be a Hydra Guardian play. There's all possibilities under the sun that he can go for, regardless of what map he's playing on. Although it is cross-map, like you say, on Radiant, so a few extra seconds to the rush distance, meaning we're unlikely to see anything too crazy out of Zelot, but he is opening up right off the bat with a 9-pull timing to maybe put some pressure on a wall-in attempt or a CC first here from Sharp. And it's going to be a 10 racks, actually. So Sharp kind of lucking out here. The 10 racks will mean that these Marines are a little bit ahead of the schedule and able to defend against the early Ling pressure.
Well, with no gas here, it's not the most all-in thing from Zelot. He might be able to just transition this into a 3-base. I've seen that quite a lot. From players like Solkey, get that 9 hatch or the 9 pull out, make about 6 lings, control the scouting from the Terran player, control the front, and then immediately get 3 bases, go into more of like a 3 hatch style. We'll see if that's the direction that Zelot wants to go for. He might just go crazy after getting that hatchery over at the natural. He may even go in for a Mutilus all-in. Can you pull off a Mutilus all-in from a 9 hatch or 9 pool? I really don't use 9 pool much.
I mean, he could. It's just not optimal. Like, you have to play absolutely perfectly. One tiny mistake and the game is pretty much over. The main question is, like, can you do anything with these initial 6 lings? The answer is going to be no because of the 10 racks. Like, he should be able to smack this down quite easily. He sees the 6 lings coming across the map with the SCV as well, so he knows he just needs to pull 3 or 4 SCVs to hold the wall, and there's not really much these lings can do with the early Marine timing here. If this was a normal racks timing, it'd be 1 Marine with a second popping out just now. But he gets in anyway! Okay, changes everything, saying he's going to kill potentially all 3 of these Marines, and now Zelot in a very commanding position. I don't know how Sharp managed to botch that, or why he didn't have a SCV blocking the hole in the wall. That's shocking to me. I mean, that's almost Sark levels of shenanigans. Hopefully he doesn't lose this drone. He actually might lose that drone in the main to diffuser cut off the SCV. Zelot distracted with the link controls. There is some compensation for Sharp killing that drone. Every drone is like gold dust right now. That's like 10-12% of his economy completely down the drain. 2 lings though on top of the production line of that barracks. Could be very difficult to stabilize, but he does save that Marine in the main base and avoids getting body blocked with those 2 lings, but he could still lose both of these Marines.
Just 1 Marine left here. It doesn't look like Zelot's following this up with a lot more lings coming across the map. Instead, he's trying to drone out of this spot and get into his next stage. I think this is a fine choice considering how much damage and slowdown he's inflicted on Sharp. In fact, Sharp still hasn't added his CC here just yet. Going into 2 racks with no CC, so missing a vital part of his build, I'd say.
Yeah, also going back to your question earlier when you asked me, can you just go into like a normal 2-hatch muta all in off of a 9 pool? You can if you kill that many Marines. So we might be seeing that here now. It's possible.
It is such a long rush distance, though. Those mutas are going to be rallying in and arriving at the base quite late. There's the Spire and the Sunken Colony is going to come up. Very standard for Zelot to build that Sunken Colony at the front. He just doesn't want to worry about making any more lings this game, focusing completely on his Mutalisks and not worrying about just, you know, 2-3 Marines walking in and getting a bunch of kills in the natural. So that investment to him is worth it. A lot of other pro players will forego that in favor of just keeping lings active, but this is just Zelot style.
Right. I mean, killing the drone with that SCV might be the saving grace that prevents Zelot being able to execute the perfect muta all-in that he needs to bowl Sharp over. It was a really big deal killing that drone. We can see this SCV still alive right now with that 1 kill marker in the bottom right. Seems like you see how these Marines are checking down at the 6 o'clock. Like, he knows how crazy Zelot is, that there could be a hatchery there right now. You know what I mean? That's how insane the range of players from Zelot, that there could have been a hatchery at 6 o'clock.
Could have also been an Overlord moving into position over the natural, but he's not going to find either, and Zelot will be able to get full information into what's Sharp's next move. 3rd hatchery on the way, and these 5 Marines might find that. However, mutas are about to pop, and if he just comes over here and cleans this without losing the hatchery, it's going to be a great win for Zelot.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to pull back 2 of those Marines to safety and let the 3 finish that off. Actually going to send back all of them. I think he realizes there's not quite enough DPS to make that happen. It's a bit of a shame that he couldn't get the snipe on that. The mutas are distracted with cleaning up the SCV for just a beat. But yeah, he wants to make sure he doesn't lose any more Marines for free, or he knows there's a big timing for Zelot to come in here and punish the lack of turrets. He's going to only be able to afford to make 1 turret at a time at all 3 locations. He could continue to do that against an all-in play, which is basically the response from Terran. You just keep adding 1 turret at a time at all 3 locations until you fully defended the all-in, and you will go up to crazy amounts of turrets if that is going to be an eventuality. Now he knows there's his 3rd base. It completely changes things. This could be either 3-hatch all-in muta play or Hydra Guardian or something like that. So Sharp's gonna have to hedge his bets a little bit and try and min-max as much as possible while Zelot tries to get a tactical snipe on that medic and does achieve it.
Very nice snipe there. Not diving in too deep, not over microing either, just staying as far out of range as possible and getting that last shot off. Now gonna dive in on top of these turrets. His Willis number is getting pretty high. He's gonna lose 1. Nice snipe on that building turret as well, getting the 1 shot on that. And rotate now towards this natural, start to deal some damage to the supply depot. Put a bit of pressure onto Sharp to come down here and then go back up on top of the ramp once the Marines are here in force. Here he goes, rotating back around to be able to pick off another turret that was building there and gets the supply depot. Supply blocked for the moment. Here's Sharp in a bit of trouble. Needs to get those extra turrets online, dedicating multiple SCVs to getting that done.
The 3rd gas is now starting to go up for Zelot as well, so he's going to increase his potential muta production by another 50% in a few moments here if he wants to go for a 3-hatch all-in muta. It's going to come down to whether or not he can keep killing these turrets and Marines. You can see that Sharp is just adding on more and more turrets as time goes on. He's really respecting the possibility of that muta all-in. He knows there's a likelihood, and there is no transitional point from Zelot yet. He's scanning and seeing that, okay, there is no Hydra Den, there is no Evolution Chamber, there is no Queen's Nest, so this must be some kind of all-in play. And he might be right about that, so he's going to continue adding on turrets over and over again, as many as he can afford. Non-stop Marine production and turret production is more or less all you're going to see out of Sharp for the time being. Zelot, though, still thinning out that turret line over and over again and keeping his options open for points of weakness to exploit with these mutas. He's trading off more and more Bioforce. He can't let the Bioforce build up to too big of a ball to deal with later, so has to stop killing turrets and focus on those now.
Getting some pretty good kills there. Not the greatest micro from Sharp in the defense there. A lot of glaives got off for free, and quite a few Marines fell without trading too much back on the Mutalist flock. He's in a dangerous spot here as he transitions. He will be getting into Valkyries here soon. His Sim City is way off. We've got 1 starport in the main, 1 starport in the natural. You can feel the kind of panic here from Sharp in the way he's placing his buildings, just not at all to plan, and he's doing things by instinct at this point, just trying to survive.
Yeah, here comes the major exploit. He can get deep into this pocket in the bottom left, pull all these Marines into this really tight choke, and start to use the Sim City of the Terran against him, and now swing back into the natural as well. Now the Valkyrie's starting to put a clock on this, though. He needs to pull back with these mutas and get a pair of Scourge out or something, and try then go for a gamble on either sniping these first 2 Valkyries or commit heavily into this transition. He hit his Hydra Den and Evolution Chamber at the 3rd base, and Sharp for the most part was scanning the main and natural, so he might not yet know about the transition, and going lurkers when they're committing into Valkyries is certainly Zerg favorited. So if he can somehow avoid the push timing or Sharp coming onto the map with these Valkyries, maybe Zelot can turn this into a bit of a normal game and kind of get a bit of an advantage with the fact that there won't be much detection. He's burnt so many of these scans trying to identify the tech path of Zelot that he might not have enough remaining to break through the lurker lines coming up.
Coming back in for the counter as soon as Sharp starts to move out on the map. If he sends the Valkyries back here, of course, we'll just abandon this spot. 4 Valkyries does so much damage, but he at least baits the Valkyries away. Lurkers are not done, Xun. Lurkers are not done, and they are just going to start to go down here. Was a little bit slow on that. Those lurker eggs start to morph now, but this is all but over. Diving on top of the drone line is more than Zelot can handle, and he's even going to lose that Hydra Den and potentially the Evo Chamber as well. There it is, GG.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Taken down.
Sharp just taking care of business here today. Sharp, despite being a little bit panicked, he was in full damage control mode, managed to stabilize and plug up any of the hull breaches he was sustaining from the onslaught from Zelot. And yeah, that cross map helping out just a little bit here and making that Mutalisk all in a little bit less potent, and Sharp definitely executing well on preventing critical damage from Zelot. Let's jump right into our game number 2 here between these players.
오버로드 이후에 드론 찍고 스포니풀 스포니풀 막아주고 있는 조기석. 아까 사실
Oh, something's gone horribly wrong here with the overlay. I'm just going to fix that. Why don't you introduce the players again here, Xun?
We got Sharp in the top left, going for a normal wall in. The map is Dominator, and his opponent across from him in the bottom left position, it's Zelot. Let's see what Zelot's got planned today. It seems like a fast gas play, as well as a pool. It'd be interesting to see if he goes for some crazy all-in muta with a really fast lair timing. Or could it be a bit of a mind game? Instead, there's going to be some kind of weird 2-hatch lurker play. It's not usually optimal. If you're going for a 2-hatch lurker, you usually go hatchery first to optimize your lava and economy to make sure you can afford those units, since lurkers overall cost 125 minerals and 125 gas each in total, not including the 200 lurker aspect research. So usually you can't go for a play like that off of the pull first into expansion. It is going to be that really fast lair that we can see now. It looks like it might be that 2-hatch muta all in. He's going to try and keep this SUV out from the main base and prevent him from scouting this.
Bit of a footsies here in the center of the map. SCV trying to dodge around these lings. Ling's trying to prevent any further scouts for the time being. 1 Rax fast expand from Sharp versus the 12-hatch out of Zelot, or was this a 12 hatch? Sorry guys, I actually skipped forward a little bit too far.
It was
And I
pull
was-
first with gas into
Okay,
fast
gotcha.
layer with an expansion. So it's like a ultra 2-hatch all-in muter. About as all-in 2-hatch muter as you can get.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was fixing that overlay as well. Skipped out a bit on that start, but 2-hatch muta, that's definitely in the wheelhouse of Zelot. This is what you would expect from him on Dominator, but maybe not in this position. This is probably the best position to hold off, or would you say that the center right is a bit better to hold off 2-hatch
Center
muta?
right is a bit better. Yeah, center right is a little bit better. I think top left is the second worst position to hold off against something like a 2-hatch muter. It's just with the gas being out on the left like this, it's just too much ground for the turrets to cover both the minerals and the geyser at the same time. So there'll be some room to maneuver and punish this as Zelot. And this pocket where he's building the barracks is also pretty exploitable too. Gunning down the Marines as they're coming down the ramp and then swinging back round to punish the mineral line in the main or the natural, depending on what you need to do. So definitely exploitable here for Zelot.
We'll see how this goes. Zelot, he's got a lot of practice at this type of play, but he's banking his tournament life on this working out, and Sharp is an ASL finalist. This guy recently in those ASL finals in the autumn of 2024 has quite the ambience, has quite the reputation right now. I'm surprised to see him in the losers bracket, but he may be making his way into that final slot. All he needs to do is hold this attack from Zelot. In fact, he's going to come out on the map and put the pressure on here early. Is this the right call, though? Mutas are coming very quickly.
Yeah, well, he's hoping he can bait these Zerglings out of position and go for it, but I think he realizes, hang on a minute, this muter timing is ahead of schedule. Even if I do bust this Sunken, the muters are popping out as it dies, so there's not really much point in committing to this. I'll just lose all my bio and only kill a Sunken for my effort. So it seems like he's going to split off a Firebat to the side, doesn't need that in the defense, and instead is going to try and hold the line. But look at these Marines already out of position. He's now going to stim and try and get them back to safety, but maybe 2 of these Marines are dying for free before they get back. And Zelot will put the hurt on right off the get-go. He's going to be making non-stop turrets and Marines this entire time, trying to hold the position. Similar into the last game, except the pressure is even earlier than usual. And with closer rush distances, you can see how easy it is to exploit this. He's trying to kind of hedge his bets and make these turrets in such a way that there's only a slither of a pocket to try and poke in at that mineral threshold on the south of his mineral line. But still, there is a way of exploiting this, as Zelot is going to keep rotating around and diving onto these turrets from left and then right, pulling the Marines out of position, then rotating back around again. It's going to be really hard for Sharp to defend against this unless he does good preemptive repairs like that and keeps his SCVs ready to repair these turrets in a moment's notice.
He's doing exactly what he should, getting those repairs going and continuously adding on turrets over and over. You can see he's up to 3 now over here at the barracks area, as almost 4 now, going up to 4 turrets. 5 turrets, in fact, over at the main base as well.
More than plenty. Yeah, he should be making like 5 turrets at each location against this kind of play from Zelot. You can go into Valkyries or something, but it's safer just to make non-stop turrets and Marines. Even going up to like 6 turrets at each location is sometimes warranted, depending on how committed the Zerg is. He's going to try and get a tactical snipe on this bunker before the repair can come in. He might just barely pop the bunker. Nice execution there from Zelot, utilizing the slow Zerglings. Now he's got another massive hold to exploit, and this is unfortunate for Sharp because now he's forced to come up the ramp with these Marines to save his natural, and he can start to trickle in some Zerglings here and there and pressure these turrets that are now not defended by that bunker.
Yeah, this is a tough spot for Sharp to be in right now. He's got no transition coming. He was just relying on pure Marine and turrets to get this hold, but more Lings are coming in the front now, and that bunker bust turns out to be the big turning point as the Zelot pushes into this natural and drives Sharp out. He's going to lose all these SCVs here. These turrets will be going down, and the supply depots. There it is. GG.
Wow,
Gonna be evening this out.
3 out of these guys. So excited, saying I told you we're going to be absolutely seeing spicy shenanigans in this game. And Zelot just thought to himself, okay, the 3-hatch muter play was a little bit slow. in that game number 1 on Radiant with cross maps. I'm going to ramp up the heat here and put the burner as high as he can and start cooking Sharp earlier on with that fast 2-hatch lair play. It's about as fast as 2-hatch meter as you can go without it being something like an overgas. The only thing better than that is an overgas 2 hatcheries in the main base kind of play where you're trying to get 6 meters as fast as possible, but it's not as good for longevity. The build that Zelot went for allows you to get the second gas in the natural really quickly and start churning out more and more muters, as well as getting that really fast lair timing so your muters are ahead of schedule.
We're going to hop right into our final game here. Sharp versus Zelot
최초 탈락자가 걸려있는
in this losers match.
경기를 끝으로
Whoever
한
wins here will
선수는
go on to
최종적으로
face
향하고
Noob,
나는 한
who's
선수는
awaiting in that final match. But
G조의 최초 탈락자가
both players
되겠습니다.
under a lot of pressure. Their tournament life on the line. Definitely there's a good chance that Zelot takes down Sharp here, but it would be a shame to see him go down early.
Yeah, it would be a shame to see that, but I personally would love to see a player like Zelot in the future bracket of this tournament going through to the next round. He's just a complete wild card and totally different approach to the game. It keeps these players on his toes, always cranking up to 11 on the amp and blowing out the eardrums of these Terran players that are used to pressure, but not necessarily this level of pressure.
정말 적극적으로 뮤탈리스가 컨트롤에 나섰거든요. 보통 피가
Zelot
없는 뮤탈리스는
again
최대한 좀 빼주는 서문준 선수였는데
with a fast ballista over pool play.
퍼붓고 괴롭혔어요.
11 pool.
11 pool.
그렇기 때문에
See when he grabs this gas. There it is, gas on 11 as well. I'm not very familiar with the 11 pool, 11 gas build. I know the 12 pool, 12 gas build, but this is
I could talk about it a little
pretty
bit if you
similar,
want.
right?
It's very similar, but it requires perfect mineral optimization. Like if you watch his drones, he'll be rarely making a single mistake with his optimizations, and everything is precise. Like when you make the gas, it's made with the drone that pops out of the hatchery at that specific time. Everything is really dialed in to squeeze out the build order. But this is annoying from Sharp. The one counter to this is being able to block the hatchery coming down belatedly in the natural, and Sharp knows that he's going for it, and he can't place down this hatchery because of the first scout. He's going to block it with an eBay. It's perfect play from Sharp, identifying how to counter this. This is the one way you can disrupt this build order, is by blocking this hatchery going down, much like in ZVP, but committing to the eBay like a pylon block is just the ticket you need to really sandbag this build. And now Zelot won't be feeling so happy about his optimizations, because this is a very mapped out build order where everything has to be crisp, and if there is anything that goes wrong for Zelot, it's going to be really tricky for him to find his way back onto those tram tracks and stay on course to executing the build perfectly.
Yeah, when I play the 12-12 build and I get eBay blocked in my natural, it's a nightmare. Everything just falls apart, and you're not going to have the larva that you need. You're not going to have that income. You're optimizing so carefully in order to get these mutalists at this early timing, and Zelot's going to be feeling really bad about this situation. If he wasn't planning on going in already, he's almost definitely going to be going all in now. It's just, there's no other way to do it.
Well, there's two ways he can play. So he can either go Ling speed into lair or straight up lair. Ling speed into lair means he wants to do like a 6 to 8 Ling run by and try and just bypass this bunker entirely, run up to the high ground and force an unload into the main base, and then pounce on the Marines as they're running up the ramp and try and punish the Terran player that way. With this variation, it's just a straight up lair. So he's getting that lair as quickly as possible and will do more or less a very similar thing of like a 2-hatch muta all in play. But you don't necessarily have to with this build. He could go for Ling speed into a Ling run by. If it's 6 Lings, he can still do a normal crazy Zerg style. If it's 8 Lings, he has to do something like a Hydra Guardian all-in follow-up. As it stands, it looks like he's going for the fast 2-hatch muta all-in play and isn't going to be doing any kind of Ling stab here.
Yeah, this is looking really rough for Zelot as he gets that extra gas online. He's just going to be missing out on so much larva here as he gets his second gas up. probably about 3 drones in the natural mining those minerals, and we're just going to see Zelot go for it. He is one of the best in the world at breaking open Terran players with this play, but with such an early slowdown, it's going to be one of the hardest busts he's ever tried to do.
Oh yeah, I mean, losing that hatchery timing in the natural is a bit problematic. Although Zelot being Zelot, I think he's navigated this really well. The only thing going bad for him is the lack of lava. Like, he hasn't quite got enough lava to spend all of his money, but he actually somehow managed to optimize his builds to have a decent amount of minerals and gas saved up to go straight into 6 mutas straight off the bat. But the problem is the timing. So these mutas should be about 5-10 seconds quicker than they are. So despite being able to still optimize his build and get things that he needs to, the overall build is slowed down quite significantly. So the mutas will be hitting still pretty early relative to a normal like 2.5 hatch or a normal gas timing from a normal 2-hatch build, but still not as quick as it should be. So these mutas are now like 5-10 seconds slower ahead of schedule, so gives a little bit more breathing room for Sharp to stabilize.
It's such a snowbally way to play this type of bust. You're relying on those mutas arriving and slowly, just barely overwhelming these positions, sniping down turrets early on and preventing more turrets from being made. But it seems like Sharp is just going to get all the turrets he needs. He's got a good chunk of Marines and medics on this high ground. Maybe there's an opportunity as the muta's number gets a little bit higher here, but it's going to be very hard for Zelot to break through any of this. I think we're going to see these turrets start to get dove upon. Sharp coming down into the natural. He has that bunker there for that little bit of extra backup, and Zelot is just not making too much progress here. As long as Sharp is continuing to build turrets up in the main and natural, or main and the production line, he's going to be in a very good spot. Diving on top of these turrets now. 2 turrets go down. He's opened up the top side of these mineral patches, and he gets the medic kill there. That's pretty important. If he can start to really knock down this Marine count, he might be able to take a win here from the top of this mineral line. He's breaking through everywhere, now can rotate into the back part of this main base, kill off some SCVs here. This is really well done by Zelot. I can't believe he's still making this work.
I mean, he's done this build so many times that even in bad situations, he can kind of still figure it out. And we're already seeing that here today. Sharp knows what he has to do, but he's struggling to execute. He forced the bio to come into the mineral line, and when it was all glitched out because of the SCV mining carving, the mutas just pounced upon them. And the one thing going for Sharp was the fact that he was building up a large pool of bio, but now he's managed to shave off the majority of those forces. He's forcing the bio to come to him while challenging the SCVs in the main base and trying to avoid the turrets when he can. He's killed enough SCVs to make this into a longer game if he wants to. He could send out a drone to take a 3rd base in a few moments here, as well as keep the pressure on. Okay, there's no drone down here in the bottom right, so it looks like he's just going to try and commit to ending the game with these mutas that he's got. Most of those turrets, though, are towards the south, so we can keep coming to the north of this mineral line and punishing this over and over again.
He is going to for sure keep doing that. Can rotate through the top side into the main base once again, but the Marines are here in a good position now. Can't be reinforced by the turrets, though. Can start to shave off these Marines more and more, and that turret is just not going to cut it. Diving directly in, it's just not enough mutalists, though. The Marines are going to clear out all these mutas. 2 remain. That might be it, dude. GG may be coming here soon.
I think Zelot got a little bit frustrated there with just the bare amount of bio was available to Sharp. He really wanted to get rid of those bio forces so he could continue to exploit and get on top of the production line after the fact, but as it stands, there was just barely enough turret coverage to glitch out those mutas as they were coming in to trade the bio. He's still trying to make it work here, but look how many turrets are coming down. Sharp understands all he has to do is survive, and that might be coming to fruition here as these turrets start to come online on the northern flank off that mineral line. It's going to become increasingly harder to trade off this bio, and if he's unable to keep that bio count low, eventually Sharp will outscale him.
A lot of this just goes back to that early eBay block. That eBay block is so deadly to a build like this, and even though Zelot is so adept at microing here and breaking through a Terran player with a play like this, the turret number is just, it's too much. You can't break through all those turrets. Even if there weren't any Marines here, busting all these turrets with just 7 mutas, it's not going to happen. It's just too many.
Yeah, no, it really is. Like, there was a win condition there. If he somehow trades off the majority of the bioforces and rotates around to the production line, there was a win condition for Zelot. But as it stands, he had just barely enough coverage and was able to keep enough bio alive that now he's going to struggle to keep trading. Sharp has plenty of medics to continuously stim as well. Some tactics are to bait out stims and come back in for round 2, but as it stands with that many medics, there's no way of baiting out stims and going for that condition. He has to commit to trading bio, so every time he flies in, Sharp is just going to target down 1 muta at a time and will eventually outscale him. Although the mutinous micro of Zelot is pretty insane, so this looks a lot closer than it should be. I mean, most Zergs would have tapped out by now, but there will be a clock put onto Zelot in the way of a Valkyrie coming out eventually. It's kind of wild that he's been able to kill all these bioforces still, regardless of the fact that Sharp was handling this so well. It's a bit of a testament to Zelot's prowess going for styles like this, but Sharp's still just barely getting the better end of the stick.
Threatening the Ling stab there at the natural. He wanted to maybe go for that bunker, but I believe there's a fire bat in the bunker as well. I think that's what I heard there as the Lings came up. So having a fire bat in there just completely denies this. There's no way you're going to be able to surround that bunker with Lings and kill if there's a fire bat, and especially if there's an SCV there helping out as well, repairing and blocking the Lings from getting the full surround. So Zelot falls back. He's lost the momentum here in this game, and with the Valkyrie popping out, that's got to be it. GG is called.
Wow.
There it is.
I mean, this is well deserved for Sharp, to be honest. He handled that so perfectly. There will be people that know the game enough to be like, well, hang on a minute. Sharp got a little bit lucky by scouting Zelot first and getting that eBay block. That's true, but I mean, when you go for that build 11 pool, you know there's a chance of being eBay blocked. That's the risk you're taking, and sometimes it bites you in the backside, and it certainly does become an eventuality for Zelot to contend with. We will not be seeing him joining us in the final match or the rest of the tournament. He is now eliminated, and Sharp going through to that final match against Noob in just a few moments here. I think a really well-deserved win for Sharp. Definitely showing that he can handle the heat. Definitely an executive chef in the kitchen here.
There we go, guys. Sharp advances to the final match. Oh, we got to put Noob in there as well. Can't forget about him. Played a great match against Zelot in that first best of 1. Had a bit of a hard time with Bishop's random. We'll see what he's got here in the PVT matchup. That's coming right up, guys. Just need another moment here. Xun will be ready to go.
All right, guys, let's get into it. I'm super excited. Sharp versus Noob. Both of these players probably deserve to go forward here, but my money's on Sharp.
I don't know how you can bet against Sharp here. He has been so good historically. He's been doing so well. His 2024 run was fantastic. He just continues to grow and get better and better over time. Though he has had some trials and tribulations lately. Some things in his personal life making it hard for him to compete, but he's still with us. He's still kicking and maybe giving us a great game here versus Noob in this final match. Guys, let's get it started.
맵 자체는 조구다 선수가 좋죠.
All right, cross map. Noob bottom right, Sharp top left, Radeon. I'm smelling a Nexus first here, Xun.
I was literally just thinking, well, if he goes Nexus first, that'd be pretty good for Noob, right? There's so many players. I even saw Flash raging recently about cross-map Nexus first. But then I thought to myself, hang on a minute. Is he actually angry, or is he just playing into the Terran propaganda and realizing that there's a lot more money to be made entertaining and raging than he is from playing good? He might have figured out, hang on a minute, maybe Artosis was onto something.
Well, he was playing against Best, and Bess is one of the absolute strongest Broadus players, actually strongest players in the world right now.
그리고 김범수 선수의
Getting
빌드는
multiple games of Nexus first in a row, cross map, pretty difficult to handle. In fact, he turned off his, I saw that same video, he turned off his webcam during his stream. He was so mad. He was smashing his desk. That's all you could hear in the background. So definitely it's a tough build to handle. There are ways to get around it though, right? Sharp has shown us that he has the ability to outdo those type of openers by going for things like mine triple expand or mine third base very
or even
quickly.
just 11 gas, right? You can get 11 gas as well, so you got an earlier vulture timing, so you can get into that mineral line in the natural just before the dragoons are coming down the ramp, and force a pull away from that mining, getting maybe 1 or 2 probe kills as well. Can be a way of kind of equalizing the game state. Sometimes you can also, you know, just pull the boys and go for a bunker rush type play in a cross map position on Radiant. That's not really optimal, which is why you see those Terran players whine and rage a lot. But I mean, here it looks like we're going to be seeing just a bunker expand for Sharp to kind of hedge his bets, and equally Noob doing more or less the identical thing here, getting a fast Nexus as well as a singular gateway of his own. I'm not sure how much far done the Nexus is relative to that CC, but it's definitely going to be slightly Noob favored. But honestly, this is one of the better options for Sharp to go to make this as even of a game as possible.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're going to have a pretty well-timed CC with this. He will come in for the scout. I think he's going to go to bottom right. Oh, looks like he's going to check bottom left now. So the latest possible scout, the latest possible timing, going to find out about this CC or Nexus first.
Yeah,
and
famous N scout or Z scout, whatever you want to call it. It's very common for Terrans to identify whether or not it's close positions, because if it is close positions, Nexus first, you can maybe do something about it and pull the boys and go for a bunker rush or something. If it's cross map though, you know that's probably not going to be an eventuality, and you're a little bit annoyed about that. But checking the close positions first is usually ideal for Terran.
Just a little frustrating here for Sharp because he didn't need this bunker right now. That bunker, could have spent that money elsewhere. Just have a few Marines down here and really optimize his build. Now he's going to see the Nexus and realize that could have happened. But other than that, there wasn't too much else he could do if he got this scout a little earlier.
Yeah, I imagine he's doing the Terran thing of like rolling his eyes when he realizes there's a fast Nexus cross map. It is what it is. I mean, there's plenty of issues that other races have to deal with, but the Terran players would want you to think that, say, they want to think you that they're the only people that get to be a victim.
Oh my goodness. Terran players are raging in the chat right now. I can hear their comments being typed out furiously. Following up with the double gateway play. That'll slow down the robo a little bit for Noob, and so won't have that really quick Reaver or Observer to go ahead and scout what Sharp's follow-up is happening. And there's a Nexus, third Nexus on the way. Now, this third Nexus is very greedy. We're about 4:30 taking that third Nexus, and so this can be punished quite heavily by something like a 4-factory play, but Sharp really needs to find out about it sooner rather than later if he wants to put on that type of pressure.
You can go for a 3-fact or a 4-fact pressure build here. It would be ideal to kind of put the hurt on a little bit. But this is kind of the problem. If you don't have an early vulture laying down mines to spot something like that, because you have a later factory, Protoss can sometimes just get away with murder unless you're doing like an SCV scout to identify that Nexus to kind of compensate. There's not really any way of identifying this easily here. You can see Noob with the periphery Dragoon ready to intercept the Vulture as it comes in and put some shots down onto that to weaken it and make any subsequent push even less potent.
eBay coming up back at home. Sharp covering all his bases here. Armory plus eBay is the choice. No Academy on the way. And so he won't have the benefit of scans, but he will have the safety of turrets. Gonna throw down a mine over here at the alternative third base for Noob, but he really does need to get in and find out about this insanely fast third over here in the center right. Definitely don't want to allow Noob to get away with that for free.
Yeah, well, Noob knows that the first vulture is so precious for Terran, so he's going to prioritize the mines rather than scouting. That's why he had the Dragoon out in front for so long. Now he's pulled those back. He's going to make a pylon wall and hopefully try and bat down these vultures as they slip in now. And Sharp going to be seeing the bad news that this was an extremely quick third base, and he's lost his window to punish this now because of how late this third factory is. He didn't set up for any initial pressure build right off the bat, so he's going to have to rely on a 5 factory play if he wants to have any hopes of punishing this, and that still might not be so great in a cross map position.
Yeah, this third base is going to come into effect a little bit too soon. He's going to be able to pump out a lot of gateways here and have too many forces for a Sharp to really get in there and deal any damage. And so we may see Sharp go up to the 5 factory, but maybe not for a push. Instead, alternatively, trying to get this third base online.
Right.
Noob will be able to take a very fast 4th if that's the case, and really double down on this extremely greedy play we've seen from him so far. Get into a massive economy that can just kind of overwhelm Sharp despite his finesse.
I mean, Sharp could go for 6 factory and try and do a really strong 2-base timing with his +1, make it work. It is viable, but I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's far safer to go for a 5-fact play and utilize the heavy unit count in conjunction with your tank Goliath to secure a relatively fast third base. But honestly, it's still not ideal for him. He's still going to be up against it. Noob's going to take his 4th base probably in just a moment here, unless he's planning on doing some 3-base timing to squash Sharp as he takes his 3rd. Look at Sharp, though. He's optimizing. He's going to take an on-location 3rd, so he doesn't have to float that down and try and stay ahead of schedule.
This is in the sights of Noob. He's gone ahead and taken his 4th base. Sharp just kind of put it in out there and going, you know, go ahead, try to stop me. Will Noob take that bait, come across the map, and try to bust this wide open? It seems like not, at least for the time being, but he is getting a pretty sizable gateway count online. Starport behind this with Arbiter play is Noob's decision, so most likely we won't end up seeing a bust attempt here on the Terran's 3rd base. Instead, waiting for that tech to come online and just getting this 4th up will be Noob's priority.
Yeah, it's going to be like 11-minute 30, 12-minute stasis timing to try and, you know, basically sandbag the 2-1 push of Sharp. Now, this doesn't mean Sharp has to wait for 2-1, even though he's getting the starport online and everything. He could push now. Like, this is the biggest point of weakness for Noob going for a play like this. There is a chance to come out here across the map and put the pressure on this 4th base attempt from Noob, and some of these Dragoons are out of position. So this attack could actually work if he somehow gets a tactical setup here with some mines laid to the east and gets these tanks down to the 6 o'clock. If he somehow snipes that Nexus, it's going to be crazy. It seems like he's worried about Noob taking a fast 5th base in the bottom left as well, and he actually is going to try and do that. It's kind of really ambitious for Noob to try and double expand, leapfrog ahead in this game and take that bottom left pocket. He's still got a probe down there Sharp doesn't know about. Seems like Sharp rotating back around to the center of the board, wants to scout things out with some vultures instead and pull his tanks back to safety, not wanting to pull the trigger on any attack execution. He had a very small window to exploit, and because he went down to the bottom left rather than 6 o'clock, he kind of ran out of time to get an attack vector going.
Wow, Sharp really walking a fine line here. Moving out with some real confidence.
Yeah.
Knowing that Noob just wasn't quite ready to push him back or to take that fight, and so Sharp returns all the way back home after that excursion. Double Stargate now going into
triple. He's going carriers.
Oh, wow, carrier play. Yeah, gonna come out here from Noob. Arbiter into carrier? We don't see that too often.
No, it's kind of a mind game, but he does scan it and see it, so Now Sharp will be able to optimize. He's got 7 factories on the way. It's very rare that Terrans try and take a 4th base before they have 7 factories these days. So very standard stuff from Sharp. He's still going to set up for that 2-1 timing. And now that he knows about the carriers, though, he might be thinking to himself, hang on, I've got probably 3 minutes to make something happen if I want to go aggressive. So I might have to push ahead of schedule and not quite wait for the 2-1 timing and hope that the 2-1 timing finishes up when I'm already set up to contain the Protoss and start trading with him. But I don't think that's going to work out either way, because there's already an Arbiter out with a lot of Zealots, but he is killing these Dragoons with mines, crazily enough. So there might not be that many Dragoons in support of these Zealots. So maybe an attack could still work for Sharp here. He probably will pull the trigger on moving out soon.
Ooh, baiting in the Dragoons. Didn't know about this little contingent of tanks out on the map, and oh boy, he's gonna catch a bunch of probes. This is what Sharp does best, man.
Yeah.
This is what he's known for, catching probes heading into the space and going for a drop into the main at the same time. Excellent multitasking from Sharp. He can start this push now too. As he's pulling everything back, get the push going and get over here to 6 o'clock, really start to contain and put a clock on Noob as he's trying to get into this carrier play. It's going to be very hard for him to handle all of these different problems at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like Sharp has decided to move out with his main battle line here just yet. He's still just powering up on these 7 factories. I don't see a CC being made, so this must be for a push still. I imagine he's going to start moving out now. It's a little bit behind schedule. He's waiting for the 2-1 timing to kick in before he risks move out. But the problem with that is it gives a little bit more time for Noob to set up, and the carriers will be on the way now, so he's lost a little bit of momentum. He's got about a minute before the interceptors build up and become a threat, so he can still get into the 6 o'clock pocket and drive a wedge, maybe take out this base quickly, and then either rotate round to knock out the bottom left or even pressure the rally point of Noob. But that's a little bit riskier. It'd be much safer just to knock out this base at 6 o'clock than either retreat back to defend the recall or go to the bottom left. And he snipes the Arbiter. That's insane. Now there's no recall in the main base to worry about. He can go full steam ahead and put the pressure on Noob and force him to challenge him head on with this army. He is going to be knocking out at least this 6 o'clock. There's a counter attack rotating around to the natural third of Sharp, and hasn't got any units here to defend, so he will have to collapse his army onto these Dragoons, which will buy Noob some valuable seconds.
All right, pulling back most of the army now. Sharp could be counterattacked into his natural. There was no recall available. That recall was shut down, but he can still try to break through directly, run into this main base and cause an upset, cause some problems here for Sharp, or at least delay the movement of this army coming back. That way he can buy some time for his carriers to finally get into full form. He's trapping his own army though over here on the left hand side. All that ground army is going to go down, but at the same time, carriers cleaning up tanks for free is quite nice, getting rid of a lot of this ground army. And Noob still retains bottom left. He's still got his 3 base economy back at home, plus getting this bottom left online. That's enough to at least keep producing interceptors at the bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean, so far Sharp's done a great job of smacking down the counterattack attempts of Noob, and the fact that he was able to kill that Arbiter for the recall came in as well is a really big deal. There's only 4 bases of Protoss to worry about, and he's taking the natural in the top right as his own 4th. That is Sharp. Has got a massive force to start to leverage against Noob in the center of the board. Carriers rotating around to this natural third. There's 5 of them here to try and do a tactical snipe on this CC and try and siphon off as much of the Terran economy as he can muster. Sharp's in full counter-attack mode himself now. Probably can't rotate these units back to defend in time, so he's going to try and slow down the carriers as much as possible with a trickle of units while the main battle line of the Terran starts to descend upon the rally point of the Protoss now. If you can knock out this natural third of Noob while putting pressure onto the rally point and getting on top of the production line, that will also force the carriers to come back home to defend.
Hasn't been able to kill this CC here just yet, but Noob appears to be wanting to just allow that base to go down, allow this natural to fall so that more carriers can come out. Still over there in the top left, dealing damage on that CC. So he's going to cut off some of the last remaining mining from Sharp. And as long as he retains some control on this high ground, even if he loses this base down here, even if he loses his third and his natural, as long as he has that base in bottom left continuously mining, he can at least build interceptors. That's all you really need to keep this play going with all the carriers he's managed to accrue.
Yeah, he's done a great job so far of getting a crazy count of carriers. There's 8 total on the map, 3 in the main, 5 out by the natural third location where he's just picked off that command center. And the main is pretty much mined out now for Sharp. He's just got 1 base worth of mining left to work with. Has currently got a supply lead, but that might not be indicative of the current game state right now. Seems like Noob is in the driver's seat. He's gonna try and get an EMP maybe on those carriers would be a good idea, but he doesn't manage to find it. Gets picked off before the energy can be achieved, I believe. And now going to be doing a tactical snipe on this bunker and putting the pressure back onto Sharp. And he's on top of the production line right now. Has to retreat with all of his Goliaths to defend against this. And unfortunately, a lot of tempo has been lost for Sharp now. And he's on the back foot as there's a massive win condition for Noob just to sit here on his production line and pick off the carriers as they're built. Force the Terran army to come to him and keep trading off as many of these units as possible. And then when he finally gets the units back into position to defend, he can just rotate out these carriers to this 9 o'clock dead zone where the Goliaths can no longer chase them.
Sharp back at home now, falling behind in supply though, and the carriers are going to be able to group up. We're going to see the entirety of the carrier force gathered together here near the center of the board with full interceptors and what is this, 8, 9 carriers here? It's going to be very tough for Sharp to take a fight with that, especially if Noob rotates around the outside and just stays above these neutral high grounds. As a +2 tack upgrade finished on these carriers, and the army from Sharp is coming out to meet this. No neutral high ground to retreat to here just yet. Maybe he's caught an opportunity to start to gun down some of these carriers. One's going to fall for sure. Can he get 2 carriers here? This is some really good play by Sharp. Bit of a mistake from Noob to get caught like this. 2 carriers go down immediately. This is big, big damage from Sharp.
Yeah. And he's got this 12 o'clock lifeline. It is still just 1 base mining for Terran, so still favoring Noob right now. And it's got a tactical auxiliary force of Dragoons out on the western flank, pinning down some of these Terran units from being aggressive. And so there's no chance of really knocking out any of these bases for Noob. He's also pretty much on just 1 base mining in this bottom left, but that's more than enough to keep churning out those interceptors like we were talking about. And eventually he will rotate around to this 12 o'clock dead zone and challenge the CC up here, and that might be all she wrote for Sharp. If he can't stop this CC from going down, he might be in trouble.
Yeah, this is the spot that Noob wanted to get in. That's why he was willing to risk flying over the flat ground area. Ended up losing some carriers for that, but eventually he finds his way into this top pocket. Gonna be able to kill a lot of these SCVs and continue to trade out just pure interceptors for units of Sharp. Noob loses a carrier to one of the turrets. That's a big moment there. I believe that was a target fire with the turret. Able to kill one of these carriers.
That's absolutely insane, man. I can't even believe I just saw a long bolt missile take out a carrier like that, especially when there's plenty of interceptors to draw the fire. If that was a target fire, that's absolutely bonkers play from Sharp. Currently executing out of his mind, but will it be enough? He's going to have a hard time rotating his Goliaths around to stop these carriers getting on top of his production line, as well as protecting the CC at 12. He might split off some of the forces and keep a few Goliaths at 12 and the rest rotate around, but that still won't be good enough. He's going to have a really tough time juggling back and forth between his main production line and this 12 o'clock pocket. I imagine this is going to be death by 1,000 interceptor cuts here from Noob as he eventually whittles down Sharp to a nub, despite the valiant efforts from our Terran player.
He could target down the... Okay, never mind. I was going to say he could target down the... yeah, those comm sets. Look, he's actually targeting one of them. If you kill one of the, or if you kill both the comm sets there, can easily take that one home with just some very good DT play. I saw a couple of DTs mixed into that army, but in the end, Sharp forced to tap out by just some strong carrier control, and that transition worked out excellently. It's just getting away with such a fast third CC, or third Nexus, excuse me, very hard for Terran players to deal with.
Yeah, no, it was really well played from Noob. I mean, there was a lot of opportunity there for Sharp to execute some win conditions by playing whack-a-mole with those bases, or at the very least get on top of the rally point. And every turn, Noob had something to throw a red herring Sharp's way. It's a shame that recall didn't come down into the main base. That would have been a big win for Noob as well, to make that a little bit of a cleaner match. As it stands, though, we're jumping into game number 2 here on Dominator between these two great powerhouses. We might be seeing this go the distance to game 3.
Game 2 on Dominator. Sharp top left, Noob bottom left. This is one of the funner maps, I think. One of the best maps that we've got. Best 3-player map in the pool right now. Up among the ranks there, with maps like help me out, Xun. What's that best?
Moonglaive, Longinus.
No. Neosylphid, that's the one.
Neosylphid, yeah, that's the kind of the most balanced 3-player map we've ever had, Neosylphid. This one probably not quite as balanced. I mean, at least in Zerg versus Protoss, it's a little bit Zerg favored. But besides that, it's probably one of the best 3-player maps we've had in a long, long time.
Neosylphid, the only thing that, for me, made that map kind of unbalanced, I think, was the tank push, where you're able to hit the third base from the angle. With the tanks on low ground, I felt like that really broke the TVZ matchup. Players started to figure that out near the end of its lifespan. There might be other things that can be abused here on Dominator, but it seems like the map makers are doing a good job of cleaning it up, adding just a couple little things here and there, changing up the map to make sure that it remains relevant and moderately balanced here.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, by the way. Like, Terrans did enjoy like a almost 55% win rate on Sylphid, but you know, ZVP and PVT were almost 50% exactly. It's really hard to make a totally balanced map, and we have the similar issue here of Dominator. I mean, TVZ and PVT are almost 50% exactly, but that ZVP, about 8% going towards the favorite of Zerg in that. So you do tend to have a little bit of lopsided balance regardless on a 3-player map, but it's really good when they can at least get 2 of the matchups dead even, and they have done that here with Dominator.
Can't ask for much more than that. Sharp not opening with a gasless fast expand again, instead getting into his factory here on low ground, and Noob not even scouting, not even bothering to scout here until just now. Gonna send out his probe, and we'll see the SCV coming in right as the Nexus goes down here on 19.
Yeah, there's a bit of a greedy Nexus, but nowhere near as greedy as 12 Nexus. It's a bit more of a safer variant, and still prioritizing your tech. In StarCraft, you can either prioritize tech, army, or economy, and in this case he's prioritizing his tech and his economy. Sharp could go for some kind of crazy aggression, but the fact that he hasn't already got like a 2 factory on the way makes the only real choice something like a strong FD push where he maintains marine production, but he won't necessarily go for that. It's hard for him to identify exactly what Noob wants to do here. It's most likely going to be a quick robo off of just one single gateway and then add the second gateway, but Sharp wouldn't know that for sure, so it's not always the safest idea going for a strong FD push. There's a lot of minerals to invest in making, like, 6 to 8 Marines worth of push.
Noob's already got his second Dragoon out, and not going to be skipping over range here, instead getting that range before Robo. It was a little trendy for a bit, skipping that range, but can lead to some difficulties with pushes like you were talking about. That strong FD, heavy on Marines, just a couple of tanks and Vulture rallies. And it's pretty much overwhelmed the Dragoons without range. They are incredibly useless. Like almost as bad as Marines without stim, but without that range, they really do suffer. Now, a small push coming across. What would you categorize this as?
What Sharp is doing? This is just a normal FD push, yeah.
Not quite as many Marines as a strong FD. Gonna be pushing in here. Looking for
this main goal is just to escort the Vulture to lay down mines, potentially, on the expansion. He's gonna pressure it and see if he can punish the low unit count. See if he can get some mines laid down here, but I don't know if this is a good idea from Sharp. I mean, like, eventually Noob might clean up this force, and then there's no mines covering the third. So I think this is a mistake from Sharp. I think he should have done an escort here to guarantee mines being set up at the third. I can't necessarily fault him for going for this. It's a good opportunity for the fact that there was only one gateway of production from Noob, but if he wanted to go for something like this, why not just make some more Marines behind this? So I'm not too in agreement with Sharp's decision making here, but he does somehow make it work, which is absolutely insane that Noob has actually lost this many Dragoons, and the tank is still here, despite only being one shot from dying.
Oh, he's got to be careful with that tank, man. That tank is so low. Did a pretty good job of baiting mines and trying to get that tank kill. Some Dragoons went down and the tank count still will remain. Sharp, though, doesn't have the ability to block this Nexus, and you're right. No mine at the third base means an immediate Nexus gets taken as soon as Noob holds this.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay from Sharp. I just feel like if you're gonna commit to an attack, you might as well go for strong FD and make a couple of extra Marines at least. He just barely managed to get value regardless, but you saw how close that was. That tank was one shot from dying. If he accidentally loses that tank during that push, he's in big trouble.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the FD push is the fake double, meaning the fake double factory. Where you're going to be quite aggressive, but you're not actually putting out two factory units at the same time. Oh my goodness, walking right up to the front here. Noob getting a little eager here. Yeah. Going right up to that front, and this is 3 factory follow-up. Sharp going to be looking to punish a quick Nexus, and he is going to find that, knowing now that he's kind of geared up for the right follow-up. He can get right in here and actually punish this pretty successfully. Tanks moving up to the front. Mines are going to be laid down here at the front. Dude, he's going to run right past those Vultures, though. Not even worried about them at all. Diving directly onto the tanks. This is a really good play by Noob. Realizing that those Vultures were trying to get in and lay those mines down. And just getting rid of the tanks is going to kind of put the kibosh on this push. He gets the last tank. That's such a big hit. Getting rid of that tank is massive. Now he can calmly, slowly get rid of this pylon once he's got enough Dragoons and start to deal with all these mines and Vultures.
I think he actually can move out with the Dragoons. I don't think that's a completely tight wall in. I think medium units can still get out there. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, he does have to kill the pylon. The way it was positioned, like maybe he could squeeze out. But he will get a tactical snipe on this Nexus when all's said and done. So, I mean, this isn't terrible for Sharp. He did lose a lot of tanks during that, but killing the Nexus, I mean, that's essentially a successful attack with the 3 factory play here. And he can just transition into a more middle-of-the-road build order, get an additional factory, start getting his upgrades online, and he will be enjoying a pretty comfortable economic lead. So he needs to get some damage done with this Reaver in the main base of Sharp to kind of equalize things. If he doesn't find compensation with his Reaver, Sharp might run away with this game.
I do agree. It is not too bad here for Sharp. I think that went about as well as it possibly could for Noob, considering the circumstances. 4 Dragoons is all he had.
Well. Yeah.
And he somehow managed to stop that push. Yeah, just by diving directly on the tanks. I think it was a very strong way to hold. He still gives himself an opportunity to maybe win this game. If he had just taken that fight straight up, you know, backing up as the tanks and vultures pushed in, he most likely would have been overwhelmed and died by now. But Noob still has a chance in this game. He's going to retake that third and see if he can hold it.
Yeah, he went from like a 10% chance to win to like a 25% chance to win or something. So not terrible, but not good either. And the Reaver can slow down any subsequent pushes, assuming perfect micro. We'll have to see what happens. We've got more and more units churning out from Sharp. He'll have to keep some units pinned back to deal with the Reaver harassment, which might buy time for Move to get a belated third base here. By the way, saying you need to flip the scoreboard right now. It's Noob that's currently 1-0 up in this series, so this is a must-win game here for Sharp.
Right, I'll do that now. Just keep talking, Xun. I'll flip it over.
Okay, buddy, no worries. Yeah, I mean, Noob's going to double expand, try and leapfrog over the issue, just dive over those hurdles, get a quick fourth base, and force Sharp to keep coming out onto the map to fight him. And we saw some pretty adept control there from Noob, utilizing such a few count of units to still pick off those tanks, regardless of losing a few sacrificial goons for free initially. He's got 2 speed shuttles making their way downtown, although he's going to have to utilize them in purely defense, first against these vultures raiding the third base, and then to try and challenge the siege tanks, which are already setting up into siege positions currently. On this pizza slice, they will start to pressure this third. If he allows them to come into his pocket, it'll be problematic, so he's going to start challenging them from both flanks with those speed shuttles.
This is a nice position, dropping the Reavers up on the high ground, able to deny a couple of Goliaths. He really needs to get rid of more of these Goliath so he can drop the Zealots on top of this forest. Pretty good target there. Target fire onto that shuttle. We'll remove that from the game here pretty quickly, but Reavers drop down, and Dragoons are going to completely overwhelm this position. Wow, Noob running this play over. Sharp a little bit too aggressive here, and he's going to fall back onto his third base. But he has been losing so many tanks this game. He's really kind of, running out of steam here, losing his push potential now.
Yeah, I mean, this went from being like a 80-90% win chance for Sharp early on after losing those 2 Dragoons for free to suddenly more or less even at best for Sharp. I mean, it's not suboptimal to say the least, saying he's going to power up into 6 factories as quickly as possible and try and establish himself, but the game state has completely been reset here. And Noob going to be feeling very comfortable even on just these 3 bases worth of economy after clearing out all of those tanks more or less yet again. I mean, this is just brutal for Sharp. Like, he was in such a commanding position in both junctions, and it slipped through his fingers both times.
He's one of those players we usually praise for his control, especially with vultures, but Noob has been showing a really high-level understanding of how to take these fights and getting good trades after taking a few early losses. Now he's doing incredibly well, getting this 4th base online. It is a little bit behind the curve here at 12 minutes, so it's still not like he's fully ahead here, but Sharp is low on tanks. He's not going to be able to push for a while. Noob can just kind of expand out here and do as he wills for the time being. Sharp's just got to sit and kind of wait for more upgrades to come online, get this tank count a bit higher before he really moves.
I would have loved to seen Sharp take his third gas a bit quicker than this and get a really quick third machine shop to replenish that tank count a little bit faster than usual. He's only just now taken his third gas. He's having a hard job spending all of his money appropriately because you don't want to slack on producing vultures and what have you. You need a lot of those to screen. Here comes another speed shuttle attempt into the main base. Plenty of turrets and mines to try and thwart this. Can he stop the maximum damage potential being ascertained? It does look like he's doing that. Hasn't really taken any damage to that speed shuttle harass. So the longer this goes on, suddenly Sharp may be back in the driver's seat again, but Noob trying to race ahead of time yet again. Not only taking that mineral only, but also taking his 6 o'clock as his 5th base. So the onus now back on Sharp to either expand or attack within the next minute or so.
That makes sense. After killing that many tanks, taking extra bases is warranted. Oh, this is a lot of greed, though. Noob going directly into those extra bases and a carrier transition at the same time. He's really hoping that Sharp doesn't have that next push prepared and ready to go here. so that he can buy a bit more time and get this carrier transition online. Sharp scanning around, looking for more information, but has he found about this carrier transition just yet?
I mean, I'm not sure he has. I do hear the scans churning, but because there's too much vision on the minimap, it's hard to tell exactly where he is scanning at all times. So I'm not sure if he's yet identified that. His army movements seem indicative that he has identified that, but that just could be a normal attack timing because he's at like 170 supply. It's a good time for him to pull the trigger to create space for himself so he can both take the 4th base as well as put pressure onto Noob. Noob, though, going for a counterattack of his own with 2 speed shuttles in the main base, trying to cause a little bit of disarray. These 2 Reavers could rain havoc down on that Terra Mineral line. At the very least, going to be forcing a lot of attention drawn that way rather than in the efforts of attacking Noob right now. He's trying to collapse onto the rally point of Noob, shuffling these tanks deeper and deeper across the map. The carriers, though, already starting to pour out. There's only about 30, maybe 50 seconds left for Sharp to do some critical damage here and trade off the Protoss army. He is starting to make those trades occur right now. So far, so good for Sharp, but eventually these carriers will start to trickle out and collapse on this army of Sharp. So Sharp needs to do a lot of damage right now.
That was a little bit crazy from Noob, diving in there with the Dragoons against primarily, you know, or just a good mix of tanks, Goliaths and Vultures, just full-on Dragoon force. Not really going to fare too well against that. He's doing the right thing now, I think, by going around the back of this and potentially cutting off Goliaths that are going to be in the rally. Goliaths coming up here. They're going to try and fight these carriers. Carrier almost going down, actually. That's a little bit of a misstep from Noob. Almost losing a carrier there. I think that Noob would have fared better had he gone around earlier, but there it is. GG. He taps out. Not going to be able to pull this together. Yeah, just sending in all those Dragoons against that force. He really lost a lot there, where he could have potentially, you know, cut off that Goliath rally and bought a little bit more time for those carriers. Kind of a crazy game, though, overall.
Oh, it is a very crazy game, and we are going to be going the distance to that 3rd game, Saiyan. So this is kind of wild. I'm really excited to see where things pan out. I do want to see Sharp go through to the next round. Noob looked like he got a bit outplayed that game, despite getting the better of Sharp in those early game trades. Seems like Noob quite adept at controlling his forces early, but maybe struggling a little bit with these transitions, and unless he's got a cross map to work with, maybe not really doing so well. But we're going to be jumping right here into our decider match here between these 2 players, Noob and Sharp on Deja Vu.
Here we go. Sharp down in the bottom right. Noob top left. Cross map situation. Deja Vu final map. Tournament life on the line for both of these players. Bishop, the first player to make it through in this group. It's kind of wild to even say that the random player made it through first. That is not at all what I was expecting, but I'm excited for it. And I'm excited to see who's going to make it through to join him in that next round.
I mean, my money is still going to be on Sharp making it through. At the end of the day, this is both of their weakest matchups, I think. I think both of these guys not so comfortable in Protoss versus Terran. But it does kind of equalize things if they're both not so hard at it. Noob, though, not going for Nexus first this time. Could be a gasless expansion to try and still get that going, but that's a pretty fast gateway. I mean, is he going to do something crazy here? I don't think so, but yeah, he made a 10 gate and a gas, 11 gas. So this could be like a really strange build from Noob where he goes for like a really fast 2 gateways here and puts on a lot of pressure with range goons early on, or maybe even a fast citadel.
Well, that was an 11 gas from Sharp as well, so he's going to get a very quick factory out here. He's going to have a Vulture really early on. Both players kind of playing funny. Look at this, not mining the gas yet. All right, he wasn't really prioritizing that, but he is going to get to mining it now. I'm very curious what Noob is actually up to and how this is going to play out with Sharp going for such a fast Vulture.
Right. Usually it's mineral optimizations that are an issue, because depending on what spawn you get and what map it is, depends on how many minerals you can squeeze out. And you know, some positions you'll get like 10-20 minerals less than usual, so they have to delay when they send their probes to mine gas or something. And this top left position for Protoss not so optimal as some of these other positions without that like return cargo trick being utilized. You can still get some extra minerals from manual pathing, like on this probe at the second to bottom left patch. It's not always ideal though. Sometimes you get a position which is slightly less optimized. I'm curious what the play is here from Noob. Is he going to make a proxy pylon and do some shenanigans? Is he going to throw down a really fast robo and go for like really quick one base tech? There's all kinds of possibilities, but it looks like it might be that fast Nexus play.
Interesting. So a Nexus is going to go down. There's a lot of gas banked up. Are we going to see a robo, maybe like a DT drop or something
DT
to follow
drop,
this up?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Something like that. It's gotta be, right? Like, why would he take his gas this early otherwise? Like, it doesn't make sense. So it's gotta be something along those lines.
We'll see. We'll just have a Dragoon on the ramp and keeping out anything from scouting this main vulture is rotating around. Or actually, where is this vulture? Okay, there it is. Vulture's coming out now. Did he get the add-on before vulture?
Maybe, yeah. I think he must have done for the vulture to be this slow. Unless he just had the vulture chilling back in his base this entire time, which would be unlikely.
Yeah, that does seem a little bit strange. Maybe he went for the add-on to get a really quick mines upgrade out, but usually when you do 11 gas, you go for the vulture first to try and punish something like a Nexus first. It's not going to matter this game, but looks like we might have very quick mines getting laid down. That could be very strong if it's a DT play, something like that.
Yeah, it was going to be that fast robo play. Dragoon trying to get in there to spot whether or not the CC was going down, but Marines already out ahead of schedule and protecting that from becoming eventuality. 2 probe kills with that 11 gas, punishing the economy and getting out with that vulture. He's trying to intercept that vulture out on the map with the second Dragoon already there, but he's going to rotate that around to the third base to be safer. He's going to try and still cut that off. Just 3 more shots and we'll shut that down.
Oh, I don't think he's going to get it.
Yeah, he missed micro a little bit there.
That vulture gets kind of caught on the wall there. Is he going to be able to get mines? He is going to get mines, and he's going to get the mines in behind these Dragoons. Can come into the natural now and start to kill a bunch of probes.
He kills
one. This is going to be very scary right now. Oh, he gets one of the kills there. This vulture may end up going down, but Marines are coming up to finish the job here, and there's another vulture coming in with some more mines too, so this is going to get really hairy now for Noob. Noob trying to target down this vulture as it comes forward. He'll be laying down a mine and backing up as far as he can. Probes off the line to try and help hold this. One of the Dragoons goes down. That low HP Dragoon ends up falling, targeting down the mine right now, but another vulture comes in. Gonna be able to lay some mines on top of the ramp here. This is getting very scary for Noob. He's gonna start to lay down those mines right on top of the gateways. One more Dragoon does pop out just in the nick of time. Really good control here from Sharp, still paying attention to this vulture and getting more kills than the natural.
A lot of Terrans would have lost that vulture for free to those probes. Not Sharp though. He's one of the best in the business at utilizing vulture control on multiple fronts. Still keeping that alive. One more particle beam shot would have shut down that vulture. Not going to become an eventuality though. He's denied so much mining time. Crippled the economy of Noob. He's 13 supply ahead this early on. Noob is going to have to do some real heavy lifting to pull himself out of this hole.
Yeah, this is some great play by Sharp. Noob getting a little bit too optimistic there, ambitious, trying to catch that vulture as it was rotating out of the main base, opened himself up to a flank with those mines getting laid down in his return path. Seems like Noob wants to go ahead and grab a third, try to make up this deficit by taking this pretty quick Nexus here before 7 minutes. That's going to open him up to a potential 3 factory or 4 factory play from Sharp. And what do you know? Sharp's already got that 3rd factory going.
Yeah, I was expecting that, and I was more or less going to say the exact same thing. Like, there could be arguments to be made, oh, why don't you just sit back and macro up and go 2-1 as Terran from this position? But the reality is he knows that Noob has to do something a little bit greedy to make this work. So he's expecting this fast Nexus play from Noob as a response, and he wants to have a potential of punishing that and trying to compound his lead even more, maybe even securing an early win condition. He's going to be doing a very scary, like 5 to 7 tank push here, and that might be enough to just bowl over Noob. Here comes that 4th factory as well to kind of double down on that tactic. We got a fast Citadel coming out, but the leg enhancements will take a long time to come online. That will not be quick enough to stop this attack from Sharp.
Yeah, 3 gateways. He's just not going to cut it here. We need quite a few more. Got to get like 1.5 times the factory count to really be able to hold this. And I don't think that's going to come online quick enough. Noob is trying to hammer out some extra Dragoons, and keeping that production going is nice, but he needs a few more gateways online. He just doesn't have the income to do so. Has taken too much early damage. You can just see the snowball starting to roll down the hill here as the cascading effects of this early game damage start to mount, and Sharp starts to solidify this position, getting ready for this upcoming attack. I think he's played a great game here, a great series as well, and looks like he'll be prepared to potentially end this game with this upcoming push.
Yeah, it does look like that. Noob going to be making a lot of gateways, powering up into 7 now. But unfortunately, by the time those come online, he starts churning out units. Sharp will already be moving out. There's that massive count of tanks moving out. Look at that. I mean, there's not really much you can do against a force that big. That's 8 tanks worth. Usually it's like a 7 sort of tank push. This is almost 9 tanks that he's moving out onto the map with. He's got almost as many Dragoons as there are tanks to deal with this. Maybe slightly more Dragoons. And leg enhancements will be too slow. He's going to rely on maybe a DT to trickle out here and there. And maybe eventually have Storm as well. But they'll be really slow in coming online and dealing with this. The only thing really hoping for the best he can do is like rotating around, trying to block off the reinforcement path with this counter attack, but I don't think that's going to be good enough, saying I think Sharp's going to get in here quite deep with this force. Noob's going to have to go crazy and do a base trade and give up the Terran production. He does manage to get a good probe drill on those vultures on the ramp, preventing them from getting too much done, which will take away some of the punching power from this army and making so there's less vultures to deal with the Zealots. If he cuts off the path of reinforcements of more and more vultures to get up here, there is a chance that Noob could do a base trade and punish Sharp's predominantly vulture production here.
Holding on from the high ground, just going to let the CC go. I think he'll target that down most likely. Noob has a few workers over at that 3rd. Gonna split off a few tanks to go and deal with that now. CC is gonna fall. Sharp in a bit of a tough spot here with the CC falling, and this counter attack working out pretty well for Noob. I feel like this is actually excellent play from Noob. Like, he's really taking the win percent chance very seriously, realizing that he stood almost no chance of stopping that attack. Going for the counter has given him a little bit of hope here in this game.
Yeah, he's going to try and utilize some DTs and speed zealots to break out now. I mean, the one thing going for Sharp is it's much more challenging for the Protoss to stabilize. Like Sharp, you know, he can make a CC in the main and float it if he needs to be safe. In this case, though, Noob has evacuated that container's come back with the majority of his forces, so he can start double expanding right off the bat again. 1 base versus 1 base, still heavily favoring the Terran player. If you can catch these tanks out on the map and prevent them from trading, that would be nice. He hasn't sieged those tanks up, though. A little bit of a mistake there from Sharp, not getting the opportunity to get some better trades with those. Going to instead shuffle them around and try and buy a window for his vultures to slip in to the natural, as well as laying down some mines here to cut off the retreating path of those Dragoons.
Another wacky game between these two. They seem very well matched. I feel like Noob is playing pretty out of his mind for the situation. Found himself in a tough spot. He's managed to make it into a game still. 55 supply only. Feels like a big deficit to try and come back from. It's just he had the option of either rolling over and dying or going for this big counterattack and having a rough game. I mean, I think he chose the better of two options, and he still has some chances to come back in this game. Here comes the floating CC. Sharp's going to take this base and double expansion coming in behind this. He needs that because his main is going to mine out very quickly this game.
Yeah, I think Sharp has handled this pretty flawlessly. He knows that Noob was playing pretty good, and the only way to guarantee a win from this position is double expanding yourself. He's made the third on location ahead of schedule, and now floating the CC to the natural belatedly. He will be powering on two bases regardless of his main being mined out in the next couple of minutes. Noob himself only on two bases right now, hasn't yet leapfrogged into that double expansion attempt. So the longer this goes on, the more chances there will be for Sharp to solidify his lead. Noob could go for a two-base bulldog play and try and bowl over Sharp here with some speed shuttles and Zealots bombing on top of those tanks. But as long as Sharp executes well, I do think this is going to be a victory for Sharp.
Yeah, with this third base coming up kind of uncontested, and Noob still doesn't have his third online. Can't really afford it right now. Can't really move out and take that. This is going to get worse and worse for our Protoss player, Noob. Taking some more damage, losing some more probes to some Vulture run-bys. Sharp adding insult to injury and gearing up for another big push as Noob tries to recover. I mean, you can potentially stay on similar, the same base count with the Terran player for a little bit and be okay, but you can never allow the Terran to get ahead of you in base. It's just not tenable.
No, it's not sustainable at all. Saying if it was carriers in the mix and you know running around the map with a large fleet of carriers, that becomes a little bit different, obviously. But unless there's carriers involved, it is definitely not tenable. Really unfortunate here that Noob probably won't have too much opportunity to win this game, but he might be able to get a bulldog going. If he somehow churns out enough units and catches Sharp with his pants down, his siege tanks not in the right location, and drags some mines into that Terran metal and uses the explosivity of those mines as a double-edged sword against the Terran, there is technically a way of winning this game. This is still quite a lot of SCV, so despite Noob being quite behind in supply, that's mostly because there's a lot more SCVs than there are probes right now. So the army supply difference isn't too big, but it's big enough to still be a problem here.
Looks like he's approaching this entrance. That is so much Terran metal.
Yeah.
Lots of turrets and even putting supply depots up. Sharp just knows, you know, I just need to survive here. I'm gonna be okay.
Right.
I've had this third base up for a long time. 40 supply advantage, Xun. It's not looking good. Noob in his death throws here. Might be able to throw something at the wall, but I feel like Sharp is just baiting him and he's waiting for that attack.
Yeah, these supply depots walling at the third, as well as a bit of a AI depots out in the front here at the rally point, will just kind of solidify the defensive line for Sharp and force Noob into a more passive game plan, which also favors Sharp. He will outscale him. Going to be seeing the good news that this third base is extremely late. So unless there was some kind of ninja expansion he doesn't know about, he's more or less a shoo-in for winning this game now. He just needs to execute well.
Noob's still looking around for some way to take a decent fight. Sharp's not pushing yet, and so he's going to continue to saturate that third. Just he's falling further and further behind, man. 50 supply now in advantage. I don't know how Sharp can even lose this game if he tried. Noob is just waiting for this push to come out. He'll throw this army against the push and see what he can do. Oh my gosh, he's even going to take some damage to mines. Oh man. Yeah, this is tragic.
Yeah, there's not much that can be said about this. Like, the supply should be reversed. Like, usually it's the almost maxed out Protoss about to bowl over a Terran that's struggling to maintain a 140 supply to hold off the max Protoss attack. In this case, complete role reversal here, and Sharp has the potential of just attack moving without even sieging as long as he dodges the storms. Noob a bit prematurely trying to challenge the line of Sharp and skirmish. He needs storms to really do this. There's even science vessels out to do D-matrixes, eventually EMPs on those Templars as well. Sharp knows that the only way he can really lose this game is if he never can take a 4th base, so he's going to absolutely max out with full upgrades before even thinking about coming out here, so he can make sure that the trades do go well regardless of what occurs, and he can eventually get that guaranteed 4th base. He's actually building the 4th base on location after slipping out an SCV. A Noob just too preoccupied with skirmishing that he didn't even deny the SCV getting out there. Here he comes in for the trade, saying, but look at that line of tanks. There is no hope of getting on top of that without crazy amounts of speed shuttles or like 3 stasis.
Yeah, that's just not going to happen. Holy, look at all the tanks back there. I mean, looking juicy for a storm. If you could just get a storm on top of that, or a couple of storms on that back line, could end up taking out a lot of tanks. But even that, I don't think would allow Noob to take this game. He is desperately far behind and struggling at this point. Sharp going to start to push forward, getting a foothold on this ring of high ground around the outside, and Noob in full retreat already, still sitting here at 124 supply to the fully maxed Sharp. Just looking for the closer now, but taking his time. You know, this is his tournament life on the line too, so he's got to be very careful here with how he takes this final fight.
Yeah, sometimes ramming it down seems like a good option, but the reality is that's one of the best ways of giving a comeback mechanic to your opponent. So waiting for the full max out with your upgrades. He's now got 2-1. He's going to try and avoid the storms as well by splitting off his units with a D-Matrix as well as a great counter to storm. And he's not even going to utilize siege now. He's just going to wrap around with his army as fluidly as possible and avoid getting caught underneath those storms as much as he can. Clean out that army, and we'll be forcing a GG out of Noob in just a few moments here. Noob might be staying in this game a little bit longer. He has got some high Templars rotating to the 6 o'clock position. He's going to be doing a little bit of morale victory for himself here by killing some of the economy of Sharp, but it's not going to be enough. The main battle line is starting to make its way down to the rally point of Noob to close the noose around his neck, and eventually this complete rally point will be contained, and Sharp will be executing a very clean finish, I think.
Yeah, this is about as clean as it gets. The surround on the army that was cordoned off on the right-hand side and then moved directly over here to the natural. Clutching this one out, finishing it off. GG, there it is. He taps out, and we've got our next round of 16 player in Sharp, who's going to be making it through. Congratulations to him. Well played. Noob, I mean, he played a really good series here, going up into the winners match. Had a very nice series versus Bishop. Played his heart out here versus Sharp. A little bit sad to see him go. Definitely a strong player.
Yeah, I would like to see more from him. He's one of those, like, you know, slightly lower echelon of Protoss players that can hang with the best of them, just needs to iron out some of the creases in his play. Would like to see him join us again in a future season of the SCSL. But as it stands, I'm super excited that we've got the powerhouse Sharp joining us in that round of 16 alongside Bishop, the random player who's keeping things spicy here today. We're joining the bracket screen for a few moments to take a look at what transpired. Bishop and Noob in that winners match was pretty interesting. Unfortunately, Noob not able to get the better of Bishop despite the PVZs, and yeah, couldn't get a repeat of that game number 1. So Bishop got out really early on here. Tomorrow, though, we've got next SCSL, we've got Group H coming up. We've got Rush, Backhoe, Killer, and Scan, a fan favorite. That's going to be a pretty interesting group. Rush is a very potent Terran player, one of the best Terrans in the world right now. Killer, you know, he's a really high execution orientated Zerg. He definitely could take out any of those guys in that group. I definitely think Rush and Killer are probably favorited to get out here, but it would be nice to see Scan, our boy, break out.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to see Scan go through. He's been playing really well lately. Rush is a absolute destroyer, man. I imagine we're going to see 2 Terrans make it through in this group. But we're going to be casting that on SCTV over on Soup Live, guys, on Thursday this week. It'll be Thursday the 5th of June, and we're going to be continuing this SCSL coverage every Monday and Thursday. So come on, stop by, hang out with us over here on the channel. We've got quite a few people in chat right now, just hanging out. Ranged Vtran, Dada, thank you for stopping by, guys. Always fun to hang out and chat with you guys during these casts. Bit of a different experience, I'm sure. You get to see all of our gaffes and craziness, but we're starting to get the hang of it. I think less mistakes in this week, and I think it'll continue to get better and better as time goes on.
That's how it's been with us since the start of casting KCM together. Saying it's been a few years now since we've been a duo casting team, and it's been just nothing but improvement as the time ticks by. I'm sure that will continue to occur. We also do cast the KCM on this channel, SCTVN, over in Super Live as well. That'll be on Fridays, and all 3 of those days it'll be at 7 p.m. KST, that's Korean Standard Time. So check the time zone differences. Maybe if you're not working that day, or you're a European or something, or you're an American that can stay up super late or whatever, check to see if you can make it and come and join us in the chat. Hang out a little bit. We always like to see you guys come over and watch these recordings live. We're definitely live casters. We don't like sitting back in the recording studio, knocking out a game at a time and taking our sweet time about it. We like to just crank it out, much like the ASL, do it all live for you guys. And there's more reason for you then to also come and enjoy that action alongside us there.
All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to take our leave. We'll be back Thursday for Group H. See you there.
Thanks, guys.